Good morning. Yes, it is Friday. It is morning. I don't usually stream in the morning. This is odd for me, but I'm changing things up a little bit. I'm trying to get some different time in, and people have been saying, "Hey, look, it's too early in the morning for me. It's too late in the evening for me. Can't please everyone because the Earth is not flat. There are things called time zones." So I have to recognize that. So I kind of did a stream the other night that was really late, like at midnight my time, and that's fine for me. I'm up. I was awake. I was wanting to stream. Wasn't expecting too big of a turnout because it's late. And same thing over here. It's too early in the morning to really have that big of a turnout. And I get that. But you know what? It's convenient to me because I walked to the store this morning and I got myself some donuts and coffee. Like legit. The kind of coffee you get at a donut store. It's so good. Oh, hang on. Wait, you got it. Yeah, it got that little notch in there. So I was a little caffeinated and I was a little sugared up. And I was like, yeah. Maybe I'll stream this morning because there's been some, like, literally, even though I just talked about this the other days, but already been new things that have come up. But there's also things that have related to older stuff when it came to the Katie Joy Paulson case and Todd Chrisley that I found to be very interesting. Things that didn't quite add up. Things that she had said way back in October 2021 that's come in full circle now that wasn't quite the case. I remember even saying very specifically things were going to age well. Hashtag I was right. Go figure. And so you guys are all like starting to note that on Twitter. Twitter's just popping left and right on this particular stuff coming out with the lawsuit because people are discovering, hey, there might be more to it than let on. Matter of fact, it was Allie that had said over in Truth Sleuth that said that when she first looked at the Todd Chrisley case, she had said that it wasn't too impressive to her. And I think that was kind of the overall mentality, right? Because again, people don't understand when you do an initial complaint, you're just throwing out enough to get out there where you're saying, this is what I want to bring to the table, right? You're not throwing everything you have. You don't give all your entire case just on the initial service and summons that you have to somebody. The initial complaint, you don't put everything out there. We certainly did it in my case. And so, we're like, if this is true, yeah, there might be a case there, but there's something to be missing here. And I think recently there's been stuff that came up that filled in those missing blanks. One of which was Katie Joy had said that she had been in contact with somebody who anonymously called her that said they worked for the show, Chrisley Knows Best, and that they believed Todd Chrisley in that they said, or she had said that Todd Chrisley had basically threatened Lindsie Chrisley that if she didn't just not talk to the FBI or anything like that he would release a sex tape that supposedly her half brother brought for about $5,000. Okay, so this is all out there now. This is stuff that wasn't really as prevalent in the initial complaints as it is now, because now things are coming to fruition as that they have discovery. And so, as I talked about the other night, they had asked for a discovery, and they weren't getting what they were asking for. They weren't getting the name of the person supposedly contacted Katie Joy. Now, I have already said that I don't think for a second that anybody contacted her. Okay, I just don't. And so, I have that, Misty. Yeah, I have that. I have some stuff to show you and some videos to watch. So I'm doing it a little bit differently than I did the other night on the Unleashed. This actually has audio video stuff, and hopefully it'll work because I think it makes more sense when you actually see it and hear it than me just discussing the case. But we'll see if that works. But yeah, so one of the things that just recently had happened was that Lindsie had just came out and basically said, look, she was mistaken. Her father had nothing to do with anything. Her half brother had nothing to do with anything. And she's basically denouncing Katie Joy outright. She's even threatened to change her number, which I'll play here in a second. And so the fact remains that simple logic, either somebody called Katie Joy or they didn't. Okay, there's no other possibilities. Now, I'm under the impression nobody did. But even if they did, it's not going to save her. Okay? It's just not. But let's say that nobody called her. They're asking for information because they have to show, because she's a public figure, malice. They have to show that she has recklessly had put out information that she knew to be wrong. And if she fabricated something, which she has a propensity to do, at least with specificities to me, she absolutely made some stuff up. So I can speak from experience when I say that she lied about it and made things up, because that's why I'm suing her. That's why we have a court case. No big secret there, right? If I didn't think that she lied about stuff, I wouldn't have sued her, obviously. So Todd Chrisley thinks that she had made something up, that she had said that she had this person from the show call her up and said, hey, I believe Lindsie didn't give any more details, didn't get the name of the person. It was an anonymous person, which, again, anonymous doesn't mean that the person reporting doesn't know who they are. Anonymous means that the public doesn't know who they are. You still have to have your due diligence. You have to verify who this person is, who they say they are. This is something you would learn in journalist school if you actually became a real journalist, that you have to vet your sources. If I just randomly called up a news organization and I said blah 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 blah, they're not gonna give a shit. If I say, hey, look, I work for the White House, blah 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 blah, they have to verify that I actually work for the White House if that was the case, right? You can't just randomly call up news stations and pretend to be something you're not as an anonymous source and be taken seriously. If they did that, they'd be sued into oblivion. I mean, just the editor-in-chief would not allow something like that to happen. And so they're saying, hey, look, you haven't given us what we've asked for. And for some bizarre reason, they're saying, hey, there's a criminal case in May. We want to wait to see what happens. There's some tie-in to there with Lindsie and some other stuff maybe. And Lindsie had come out and said, no, there's no tie-in there, which we'll talk about in a second here, which I think has been a bombshell. I don't think you guys even understand how big of a bombshell that actually is. This has devastated, I think, Katie Joy's legal's defense, which, if she had any to begin with, which I don't think she did. It has devastated that, in my opinion, because, again, I'm not speaking as an attorney. I'm not speaking as a lawyer or anybody who knows anything about the law other than strictly a layperson. I have no qualifications in the law. Not ever going to say that I do. I'm not Katie Joy, who thinks she's an expert in everything, but I think I have decent analysis that her defense is predicated upon her being a, quote, journalist, and she's shielding a source. There's many, many issues with that, which has been brought up recently to the court in a motion to compel. And even if there was some kind of journalistic stuff there, she still has to show the court that, I think personally, that she has a source. You know, her lawyer, she has to show her lawyer that she has a source at the very least. I mean, her lawyer has to know whether she has a source or not, if he wants to know. He may not want to know, right? I mean, he's not a criminal defense lawyer, right? And a criminal defense lawyer, you may not want to know certain things about your client, right? Because you know you can't have your client go up on the stand and testify and lie. So he might not want to know certain things, because as what happened in the non sequitur showcase, Kyle's lawyer had to withdraw because she had knowledge of things that were conflicting with her duties to the client. And she also has duties to the court. And if you willfully allow a client to lie under oath, you are not fulfilling your obligations to the court. And so you have this tension between your obligations to the court and obligations to the client. And what happens is you basically tell the court, hey, I cannot represent my client in good conscience, blah, blah, blah. And you file under Rule 1.16B that you would want to withdraw from the case. And that's what happened in the non sequitur showcase. Now, I'm not going to say that's what's going to happen here. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm saying if she did lie to him, that's what he would have to do. If he felt he couldn't represent her and and be honest with the court, he would have to withdraw. Now, again, I'm not at all saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying he may not want to know if there's a source or not, because if he tells her, or she tells him there's no source, and she goes to testify there's a source, there happens to be a problem there. I just busted my mic. One sec. All right, there we go. And so there could be a massive issue there, because if she doesn't have a source, then she did fabricate it, which is malice. And if they do compel her, because I think she has to be concerned now. They've asked for an extension that I don't think is going to be granted. There's no reason to grant it. But if they have compelled her, no, you need to tell us. You need to tell us who this person is. She's either obligated at that point to tell them if there is somebody. If there's not, then what is she going to do? Oh, I'm not going to tell you. In which case the court would find her in civil contempt. Again, not giving legal advice. Don't take my position or my analysis with anything beyond simple layperson. This is what I think. This is all my opinion. Let me preface that 1,000 times over. I'm not at all pretending I know anything about the law other than the same thing that you guys know. But I think it's a fair analysis to have. I think that it's fair to say that, look, if you are asked for evidence that is relevant and germane to the case, then if you're not provided that in discovery, there's a problem. Because she has a right to ask for certain things as well. There are limited discovery. I mean, as far as like, you can't ask for like the world. I can't say, hey, give me your hard drive. But I can say, look, this is pertinent to my case. I'm going to speak as if I was, like Todd Chrisley case. This is pertinent to my case, and I have to show Malice that she fabricated something. she cannot produce the name of the person that she says she contacted her from the show, which means she fabricated, which is malice. It means she had wherewithal. It doesn't meet the reasonable man standard. It doesn't meet the standard of due diligence, right? I mean, she literally had gone out of her way to make up something, if that was the case. So it really is germane to his lawsuit to get that kind of discovery, right? So the discovery has to be minimal and limited in scope to relating to what the case is. Look at the live chat here. Yeah, okay, you know, it's funny as you say, she's really hoping and praying Todd goes to prison or something. First of all, that wouldn't happen for a very long time, and I think there's pretty much a zero chance of that. I don't see at all anything like that happening whatsoever. But again, that has no relevancy to the civil tort. There's no relevancy to his criminal case. Now, she was trying to tie in, there's some relevancy dealing with his daughter. Now, that is what I'm going to be talking about today, because that has been totally obliterated. So let's kind of dive into that real quick, because that's a good segue to these particular videos. And let me know if you guys can hear them on the outside. I know people have already shown them and talked about them, but I want to get my 2 cents in, because I'm allowed to do that. My lawyers know I do commentary, and I'm not going to stop doing commentary because I'm allowed to do commentary. I made that mistake last time. Even though I was allowed to do commentary when I had the NDA with Katie, I chose not to. My lawyer said, look, you can do your commentary, you can do evaluations, you just cannot defame her when I was under the NDA, right? I was like, okay, well, that's not a big deal. I'm fine with that, right? But I just chose not to. I'm not going to make that same mistake twice, I don't think. I have stuff I want to say. I'm allowed to say it. I'm just like Todd Chrisley's allowed to say it, right? He's suing her too, and he's going on his podcast and he's talking about it. Why? Because he's allowed to. His lawyers know what he can. He knows what he can and cannot say. And by the way, he's a lot more vicious than I am. He just calls her every name in the book. I don't even do that. I'm nice about this stuff, even though I hate to say this because I don't want to compare like trauma, but I think personally she has lied about me more than she has Todd Chrisley. I think what she's done to me is far more egregious than what she's done to Todd, but I understand it's personal with him, and it should be. It should be personal with him. I mean, this affects his family, but there's only one issue really in play with him when there's been multiple issues of her lying against me. I mean, how many things did she say that about me, Tina, and Aaron that came out later that was false? So, we'll get into the Dr. Phil thing, because again, that Dr. Phil has no relevance to anything, because she had taken it and elaborated on it and put her own spin on things in order to, I think, get views. That's not allowed. There's something in the law that allows you to repeat information from a public source with certain conditions. But that's not what she did. As a matter of fact, that's what Todd Chrisley's lawyer has brought up when it comes to the journalistic shielding. What she did is not covered. Okay, so again, I have to keep reiterating this, because you always have some idiot out there thinking that I'm giving legal stuff, and I'm not. But again, as I understand the law, if you are an editor of a paper and you put an editorial in your paper that somebody else wrote that's slanderous, you can be liable. Okay, it's not any fair harbor there. Okay, and that's one thing YouTube really is known for, is having a fair harbor, where they are a neutral platform that if somebody puts out something on their YouTube channel, they cannot be held liable for it. Okay, this is why the whole issues with the DMCAs are crop up, because they don't want to act as any kind of arbitrator. They're a neutral, safe harbor for this stuff, and therefore they're cannot be found liable for content on their domain and their servers. I kind of get that, although there are massive issues with that. We've talked about those before. They may be hopefully changing some policies, but as of right now, that system sucks. But that's the reason why they do it and why they have the safe harbor, because they don't want to be liable for stuff that's on their platform. Well, the same thing applies to a magazine. If you print something that somebody pens and writes that is slanderous and that is outright defamation about somebody else, you cannot then claim that you were just repeating what they said. Okay, you have your due diligence where you cannot retransmit this defamational stuff. Okay, so she doesn't know the law at all. Okay, look, again, most of us have been trying to piece together these things for quite some time, and we read about the law and things of that nature, and why these situations go to court, and why they end up being ruled on as the way they do. And of course, you have legal commentators out there like Emma Daly Baker that will break it all down. And so I think a lot of people have some legal sense when it comes to this stuff, and they may not know the specificities, but they have a general understanding of the overall process, and they have a general understanding of what you cannot do. Some of it, of course, is common sense, right? Some of it is that look, if I print something that somebody else has said and they have defamed somebody, I can't then just go, okay, well, that was the other person. That was somebody else. That wasn't me. So anyways, all right, so let's kind of dive into this real quick. Hang on. I gotta have my coffee. That's good. All right. Let me know if you guys can hear this.
So, if you want to keep playing this game, indictment, I'm not under investigation, and I'm also not I'm also not the one under an order to leave someone alone.
Okay, so she's talking about some kind of order to leave somebody alone, which I as I understand it, is referring to Lindsie, right? Because she goes on to talk about Lindsie. So if that's the case, then where's this order? I don't know any order of any such thing. I don't know any order that allows you not to talk about somebody. I mean, at least not in this kind of capacity. So what order was she referring to here? This goes back, I think, if I'm not mistaken, to, I want to say October 2021, give or take, if I remember the date. I think, or is that one of the other ones? I don't remember. My dates are confused. Okay, so, but this was a while back. And so she's basically trying to say, hey, look, Todd Chrisley, you stay away from Lindsie. She's my bestie. She's my friend, which we'll come to find out blows up in her face spectacularly. I mean, it's just crumbling left and right. So she's talking about basically in the federal case for Todd Chrisley, he has one charge left from the IRS. Everything else has been dropped. And there's a big cluster with that. There's a whole different thing going on with that. And I'm not even going to dive into that. Honestly, I don't care about it. It's just not relevant to me. Do I think that he's guilty of anything? No, I think he's going to get off on everything because I don't think he did anything wrong. But that as may, that's an entirely different issue. I'm not going to concern myself with that because I care more about the fact that she's slandering people, like she has slandered me. She slandered Todd Chrisley, and of course now Robert Shin has been suing her. So she's basically saying, hey, look, there's a witness that's been called to the case on the FBI, and it's your daughter, and you are harassing her. This is the argument that she's making here, and we'll find out, right?
Okay. And you're not going to bully my friend, and you're not going to harass her, and you're not going to intimidate me, and you're not going to come after me and say that I'm hurting you when I know that you're hurting my friend.
Okay, my friend. So that's very clear that she's trying to make it out that she has some kind of personal connection to Lindsie, which they've talked, but she's trying to make it out to be a lot more than that they have some kind of relationship as being a friend, correct?
Who's your victim?
Victim, you're a victim. These are very hyperbolic words. Here's the thing. If he can prove his case, which I absolutely believe that he can, he's the victim. I'm the victim. Aaron's the victim. Tina's the victim. Everybody that this woman has slandered is a victim of malicious intent to lie about somebody in order to character assassinate them, in my opinion. No, I mean, it's a fact at this point. I think that she has gone out of her way to try to harm the reputation of people that she has gone after. She's labeled people cultists. She's labeled people dishonest. She's labeled people as threatening to her and her family and to everybody around her when nobody has done fuck all to her. So it's like this narrative of her playing the victim after she egregiously goes after everybody, it's starting to catch up with her. You know, she tried to shut down 3 people with TROs. They all got dismissed. People know that I fought like hell against that because I was like, I'm not going to be put up with this. I'm not going to be intimidated by this. And so she's trying to make the narrative that, oh, look, Lindsay's my friend. She's being intimidated by you. Okay, well, let's see how well that works out.
And I love my friend to pieces. And I will never, ever, ever let you hurt her. And just because you're mad at her doesn't mean you get to come for me.
Okay, now I want you to notice a couple things here. She's being the protector. She's being the white knight here, right? Oh, I'm going to protect Lindsie at all costs. She's my friend, and I'm not going to let you harm her. Not the way it actually worked out. We're gonna see here that that's not exactly what happened. Matter of fact, that's the antithesis of what happened. But there's one thing she added at the end, and I don't know if you guys noticed that. Do you guys notice that she had said that? Here, I'm just gonna replay it. I want to play this one part right here and see if you guys can catch it, because she's done this before.
And just because you're mad at her doesn't mean you get to come for me.
She says, just because you're mad at her, you get to come for me. Now, I'm not even going to say when she did this before. I'm going to let you guys tell me. Do you guys remember when she said pretty much the exact same thing relating to something else? I'll give you a hint. She used that same things towards me. She said almost the exact same thing to me, that I couldn't reach somebody else, therefore I'm going after her. Do you guys remember what that was? Like I said, I want you to see if you guys jar your memories. That way people can know, look, this is objective. They don't need me to tell, them what happened. But one of you guys have to remember exactly what I'm referring to here, that she had said, Steve's coming after me because he can't get to somebody else. You guys remember that? Who was that other person? Let's see if you guys can remember that. I'll tell you eventually if you guys can't figure it out. But come on, it's just like, I'm telling you, there's not a trick question. This is pretty easy, guys. Come on.
And if you come for me, I'm going to the FBI, and I already have gone to the FBI.
Okay, going to the FBI for what? There's been nothing that he's done that she can go to the FBI for. Yes, Misty. Yes, very good. It's about Kyle. Very good. Exactly. She had said, God dang, this mic is, hang on. She had said that I couldn't get to her, therefore, I couldn't get to Kyle, therefore I was going after her, which was complete nonsense. That's complete bollocks. Had nothing to do with that. I went after her, quote unquote, merely because she was lying about me. And if she hadn't lied about me, I wouldn't have cared, right? Why would I have anything to do with her because I, for some reason, couldn't get to Kyle? No, that's just stupid. But she used the same thing. These are scripts. These are like a playbook that she has. That she did the exact same thing to me.
And if you believe this, I'm not going to let you hurt her.
Oh, again, I'm not going to let you hurt her. Again, trying to make it sound like he's the aggressor, that he's the bad guy. Again, she's done the same thing to me. She's done it to other people. We are the victims. I cannot tell people how many times over and over again. I had this idiot on Twitter the other day, like, Steve, when are you going to stop, like caring about this, move on with your life? I'm like, whenever I decide to, whenever I get justice, I guess. But I mean, you don't tell a victim to just get over something. This was a lot of freaking, legal stuff. There's been a lot of general, mental anguish dealing with somebody who has accused you of falsities, especially of the egregious nature she has. You just don't walk away from that. Yes, I've dealt with it. Yes, I've processed it. I mean, sure. But doesn't mean it hasn't affected, me and people around me when you have something like this outright slandering somebody, making false allegations against them. And again, I'm not the only one. I do think about other people. I think of how she has affected other people like Tina, and she has affected Aaron, right? Because she lied about them as well. And of course, Todd Chrisley, but I'm not, a friend of Todd. So, I mean, it's not like I, talk to him every single day like I do, Aaron or something. Aaron is a friend and Tina's a friend. But I can empathize. Yeah, I can empathize with the guy, right? I don't have to be his best friend to understand that the guy probably thinks the same way I do. That has been, anguish to him, thinking that there are people out there that actually think that he would blackmail his daughter into, quote, not testifying in a case, because if she did, he'd release a sex tape about her. We're going to find out that whole story is bumpkus. That whole story is bogus. And this is from Lindsie, who says this. But we'll get into that. I know, too long didn't read version. I kind of jumping ahead. Yeah.
What are you doing?
She's awfully quiet for a while.
I never respond, but I'm so tired of it. You're not going to hurt her. She deserves peace.
Okay, remember her words. She deserves peace, because apparently somebody's been stalking her to the point, not Katie, somebody's been stalking Lindsie to the point where Lindsie wants to change her number. She didn't explicitly say who it was, but maybe you could figure it out.
She deserves so much peace. She's the victim. And if you come for me because you know I'm her friend, you're coming for her.
Not how it works.
And you know, when you're coming for her, you're trying to intimidate her through me. And you know that she's protected.
Okay.
Next week.
All right. So, again, to kind of get the background of the situation, the story was that because Todd is involved in this FBI investigation for some kind of IRS investigation, which again doesn't even start until May, and there's only, like I said, I think there's only one charge left. Everything else got dropped. But there was a huge thing that he had problems with one of the lead investigators. They did seem to fabricate some stuff. They did seem to make up some stuff. There's been some impropriety in the law enforcement agency that seems to be determined. But again, irrelevant to the tort here. And she's saying that because the IRS has wants Lindsie to testify in this case, that she had made up this seemingly made up this story that in order to prevent Lindsie from testifying in the case, that her half brother purchased a sex tape of hers for $5,000, and her brother were holding that over her head, saying, "If you testify, we will release the tape." This is the story that has been put out by Katie Joy. I'm going to tell you right now, none of that story is true, in my opinion. None of it's true. Lindsie has come out and said none of it's true. And so Todd has sued her for this. Todd is saying, look, you have said some egregious stuff that I am blackmailing my daughter on something that I've never had possession of, never seen, never knew even any existence of, never happened, nor has she been asked to be a witness in the case by her own admission. Lindsie has said that she's not asked to be a witness in the case. So the story falls apart. The whole thing crumbles. If she's saying, hey, look, Lindsie has been asked by the FBI or IRS, whatever, to be a witness in the case in May. And then because her dad doesn't want her testifying, has blackmailed her and threatened her. And Lindsie comes out and says, no, wait, no, that never happened. First of all, they didn't ask me to be a witness. And my father had nothing to do with anything. That is damning as hell to Katie Joy's story. Because if she was never asked to be a witness, what is there to protect? What is there to blackmail? The whole story falls apart like dominoes. I mean, seriously, am I missing something here? Please give me feedback here. You guys pay attention to this an awful lot. I just have been tertiarily really paying attention to this stuff. This is the second Unleashed I've done, but I haven't really talked about Katie Joy much. One, I can't stand talking about her. I honest to God freaking can't. I know it seems like otherwise, but I can't. I hate it with a passion. But there's commentary to be had there. There's something about, the fact that if I don't speak up, other people won't speak up, and other people have been speaking up, and I feel kind of obligated to do so as well. But again, when I spoke up, so many people were silent, right? And I don't hold that against them. I know when you speak up and you become public on stuff, you are opening yourself up, not just to criticism, which is fine, but up to people that can actually harm you. People have been swatted over these situations with her, right? People involved in this have been swatted, right? People have called work, people have called CPS, people have called law enforcement. There's been so much fuckery afoot because of this woman that, yes, I can see why people don't want to get involved. I totally get it. I can see why people want to remain anonymous. I totally get it. I do. But I'm not anonymous. People know who I am. So, John says, I want TC's lawyers to compel Steve the FBI guy's testimony. And I don't know how that would work. And I don't know what that guy would have to offer. But it would be interesting. I would agree. And I don't know what that would entail. And I think that would be within the purview. I certainly think it would be. But as Todd Chrisley's lawyers points out, none of that's relevant to the tort here. Right? None of it's relevant. Lisa says, I voted for the stream to be later on. I'm sorry. Well, said 10 votes. I got 10 votes, so I started up. But Lisa, take your shower, come back and finish it later. Because I think it's, these things are fun. These are interesting. As far as like, me just talking. Again, the subject matter sucks. That's not fun. But me having the streams, that's fun. I just wish it was different subject matter. I'd rather stream about like the philosophy thing, like when I did the review of like Arn Raw's video. That kind of stuff is what's fun. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. Streaming is fun. This topic, not so much, right? All right. So just recently, this came out. This is Lindsie Chrisley. It's on her Instagram, which I don't follow her on Instagram. I didn't even know what she even looked like. She's very pretty. But she's sitting at a Burger King, and she just, for some reason, decided to put it all out there. Hey, there's this person that's lying about stuff. None of this is true. And I mean, it blows Katie's story out of the water. Just absolutely annihilates her story. Have you guys seen this yet? I mean, I know a lot of people, you guys, like I said, you guys pay a lot more attention to this than I do. But when I heard this, I was like, wow, her house of cards are crumbling. Absolutely crumbling.
Don't even care. This has been one of the longest, most stressful weeks of my life. So here we are. Wanted to hop on here really quick to just address a couple of things because it seems that
I don't know why it froze. I had the same problem when I downloaded it. It doesn't matter. Just listen to the audio.
That the closer my parents get to their trial date, there are some things that are swirling around that are just being reported that are very untrue. Never have I ever been a witness for the government, been asked by the government to be a witness.
All right, very critical. Never have I ever. I love the way she put that. Never have I ever, right? That's a game that Ellen plays, Ellen DeGeneres, right? Never have I ever. But that is a very declarative statement. Never have I ever been a witness in a case, nor been asked to be a witness in the case. Because Katie Joy had been saying that because Lindsie had been asked to be a witness against her father in the FBI case, thus why he supposedly held this tape over her head and blackmailed her with it, that was the whole story. Here she is out there saying, look, no, this has been misreported. I hate to use the word misreported. This is a lie. This is a falsity. To report something, you need to either be a reporter or you need a journalist. I don't know, at least something that you're reporting on that has a positive truthfulness to it, right? Some kind of veracity, some kind of veridicality with reality. When you lie, that's not reporting. You cannot report something that does not exist, that is a fabrication. That's not reporting to me. So yeah, I understand what she's using it, but it's just, it sticks in my craw that they even call it reporting when it's an outright lie, But do you guys notice that she said that though? I mean, very clearly, I have never been called a witness.
Been on a witness protection list.
I don't know where she came up with that from. Did somebody say that she'd been on a witness protection list? Because I didn't know anything about that. So where did that come from?
Spoken to the FBI about being a witness ever. And so I think I'm going to have to change my phone number because there's just some shit that's going on.
Now, she's never even spoken to the FBI about being a witness. And I this is me. I thought she was going to say there's been some crazy bitch, as I thought what she was going to say. But she said there's been some crazy shit, from what I understand. But either one seems to be applicable, okay? But somebody's blowing up her phone. Somebody's calling her number. Now, again, I have my speculations of who it actually is, obviously. Go figure. But she doesn't come out and say it, right? Oh, as Katie Joy said that she was on a witness protection list. That makes no sense. If you're on a witness protection list, you don't have social media. You're not allowed to be in social media. So I don't know what that even, how does that work? How would she be on a special kind of protection list? From whom?
And truly, I just want to be left.
Yeah, and then abruptly ends then. So I'm sure she's wants to be left alone. But in that very small 53 seconds right there, that has decimated, if not completely obliterated, Katie Joy's defense in the Tom Chrisley case. Yeah, completely. Okay, so Misty says she actually made another post but deleted it yesterday. Go figure, right? It's amazing how much she dirty deletes even after being under a preservation order to retain this stuff relevant to the case. Katie claims to have spoken to an agent who claimed Lindsie Chrisley is a federal witness. Oh, and what would happen to a federal agent that tells somebody that kind of information? Yeah, they would be fired. You're not allowed to tell somebody if they're in federal witness protection or not. At least I don't think so. I mean, I'm trying to think of that. If they're in WITSAC, I don't know if you can even acknowledge one way or another if they're in WITSAC, can you? I mean, it would make no sense. You cannot. I would think they're not allowed to say one way or another. But who the fuck's going to talk to Katie Joy about something like that? And if she was on WITSAC, why is she doing Instagram? I mean, it falls on its face, right? Want me to play that again? Yeah, I'll play this over again because I think that's pretty critical. At least that one part. So.
Don't even care. This has been one of the longest, most stressful weeks of my life. So here we are. Wanted to hop on here really quick to just address a couple of things because it seems that the closer my parents get to their trial date,
which is, by the way, May 13th, I think, some middle of May, whatever it is, May 21st, whatever it is, it's somewhere in the middle of May.
There are some things that are swirling around that are just being reported that are very untrue. Never have I ever been a witness for the government, been asked by the government to be a witness, been on a witness protection list, spoken to the FBI about being a witness ever. And so I think I'm going to have to change my phone number because there's just some shit that's going on. And truly, I just want to be left.
Do I know how the witness protection program works? I have no idea. Somebody had asked me. Look, I've only watched In Plain Sight. That's all I know about the witness protection program. So I have no idea. But I mean, I can tell you right now, I mean, I know enough to say that if you're in WITSAC, you're not allowed to go on social media. Right? I mean, that's just common sense, right? I mean, yeah. But, here, like I said, here she is saying that, look, I've never been asked to be a witness. Therefore, what is there to protect? Right? Yeah, I'll look on Facebook here in a second here. Thank you, Misty. Let me see what we got here. Oh, interesting. Let me download this real quick. And then I'll show it later. Let me throw it up here real quick. I just was sent this, so. All right, so I was just sent this. She says, and I assume this is fairly recent. No, this, I don't know. Was this last year, Misty? You know what the date on this was? This is what I hate about a lot of this stuff. It doesn't date on the Instagram stuff. But she has said, based on information we obtained through conversations with the FBI, we believe that Lindsie is listed as a witness for the government in this criminal case. Well, that belief is false, apparently. But that doesn't say that she's on some kind of witness protection, though. The witness protection is completely different, right? Where does she make the claim that she's in WITSAC or something? But, this is very clear that, she is saying her belief, which is fine. I mean, look, she's saying that she believes it to be the case. There's a little bit of leeway there, even though when you say you believe something, you're stating it as fact. But I think another place she has gone on probably talk about it more. But I mean, still a very false narrative. And as her lawyer, or his lawyer, Todd Chrisley's lawyer, points out, you have to look at everything from a very holistic point of view. And so holistically, she's running this completely fabricated scenario in her head in order to generate views, according to Todd Chrisley, because people love this kind of salacious stuff. And so if she can make it salacious, if she can make, it sound like there's more to it than what it is. Oh, well, I just believe this, what's next? I believe that Lindsie is, an alien baby love child from Todd Chrisley and, an alien that he cheated on his wife with from Zeta Reticula, some kind of weird salacious shit. It's all this seems to be. It seems to be just her saying stuff in order to generate content. Because what is the reason to believe that Lindsie is as a witness for the FBI if through conversations? What conversations? She has to have these through discovery. This is what he's asking for. I'm sure that he's probably asking for this kind of stuff too, right? He would like to know, okay, well, where did you get this information from that she's a witness for the government? Who told you this from the FBI? I think that would be something that he would want to know through discovery. right? And she even says much of the discovery requests were regarding Lindsie, who could be called as a witness against him. According to whom? Not according to Lindsie. Right? Not according to Lindsie. We were told by the FBI to inform them if Todd sought evidence against witness in his criminal trial. So she's trying to say this is witness tampering. And in fact, I do remember her talking about this. Oh, it's witness tampering. You're trying to intimidate a witness. And Todd's like, no, she's not a witness. And she comes out and says, no, I'm not a witness. I've never been approached by the FBI to be a witness. I've never been asked to be a witness. I've never contacted them to be a witness. I've never talked to them about being a witness. This is from Lindsie herself. Now, you could argue maybe that Lindsie is absolutely lying, but that would be kind of stupid, right? I mean, it would make no sense for her to lie about this. Either she's going to be a witness or she's not. If it comes out next month if she's going to be a witness or not. They have a witness list, and there's going to be a trial. So, I mean, I would think that it would make sense to believe her. I mean, why would you think that she'd be lying about that? This is silly, right? Yeah, and the U.S. Marshal Service is with the witness program. Yeah, of course. I remember, I love the show In Plain Sight. WITSAC is through the U.S. Marshal Service, not through the FBI. So I don't know who's in the FBI that she's talking to think that, oh, Lindsie is a witness for the government. But that's not WITSAC, right? I mean, nowhere in here do I see what she's talking about witness protection. She's just saying that she's a witness for the government in this criminal case, but there doesn't seem to be any evidence for that. And this is why, yeah, John Parker, yeah, I agree with you. This is why I think that they may want to get Steve's testimony, the FBI guy. But again, I don't know what their discovery is. I have absolutely no idea what they've asked for discovery other than things pertaining to Lindsie with specificities towards who she talked to, relating to the show that supposedly called her, because they want that specifically because that is what is a linchpin, I think, that can show malice, right? If you fabricate stuff, that can show malicious intent. Like, because Katie is a public figure, that's one of the things that you have. She has to show, if like, for example, if she sues somebody, she has to show malicious intent. And Todd Chrisley is a celebrity, right? He is a public figure, so he has to show malicious intent, malice, and reckless disregard can be malicious. So he's got her dead to rights if he can show that she fabricated that story. It is a linchpin to his case, I think. Right? I mean, it is critical to his case that as far as proving malice. Now, could be other things he could use, but that in itself, I think, would be more than enough sufficiency to say, look, she acted with reckless disregard because she has fabricated a story saying that somebody called her from the show that does not exist. That shows willful intent, which is malicious, which means that can make his case for defamation against a public figure. Again, this is my layperson's commentary. This is not legal commentary. But thank you for that, Misty. This has to be pretty recently because it says Todd's trial is just under 1 month. We have not stalled or made any progress. Oh, is this the one she did recently and she deleted? Is this really recent? This has to be very, very recent. And she deleted it already. Figures. We have not stalled nor made any progress difficult. Yeah, they have. He is seeking discovery that we have objected to in regarding a potential witness in his criminal case. Well, that just got shot all to hell. Shot all to hell. Well, John says she's not a witness. It's a tax evasion trial. How can anything that happens to BKG be a concern to the FBI in a tax evasion trial? Well, I don't know about that. I mean, if his daughter had inside information about tax evasion, then it would be pertinent. But obviously, that doesn't seem to be the case. Nobody in his family has said anything about it. He's already shown that there has been mishandling of the case. From what I've looked into this criminal case, again, I didn't want to get too much into it. From what I've looked into the criminal case, there have been warrants that were overextended, and they're looking into things that they were not allowed to, according to the warrant. And they were trying to make a case that just wasn't there, and there were some problems there. And so I think one of the guys actually resigned. The head guy resigned, and he is suing. He's suing him as well, if I'm not mistaken, for misconduct. If I'm not mistaken. Isn't he? I thought he was suing the former head of the local chapter for the FBI there. Or the IRS, not the FBI. All right, so moving on to the next thing. This is the most recent, or one of the most recent court filings. I read the other one the other night. If you're going to want to go check it out, do it later, or whatever. I do have to go here relatively soon. I gotta get ready. I have David Silverman coming on the Non Sequitur show at 11. Yeah, what can go wrong there, right? It's so funny. I have David on. I've got all these right wing nut jobs and left wing nut jobs. I'm like, look, I'm not right wing or left wing. I'm a moderate. I think both sides of the fence are freaking nutters, right? I don't deal with any of that crap. So just because I have somebody on doesn't mean I support their agenda. I do agree with them on some stuff for atheism for liberty. But we'll get into that during the Non Sequitur show, which starts at 11 o'clock if you want to remind yourself to watch that. It's going to be a pretty good episode because I'll let you guys know I am interviewing to be on the advisory board for an atheist group that David Silverman it works with as well. So I have my interview next week. But I was asked to actually interview. They want my input on some of the stuff when it comes to atheism. I know, weird, right? But anyways, all right, so this says, basically, this is the plaintiff's opposition to defendant's motion to dismiss. Now, Katie Joy has put in for a motion to dismiss that I went to the other night that basically says, look, there's nothing here to even have a case. And therefore, they didn't give cause why this should be a case. It's, I think, very poorly written because it doesn't give any reason. It doesn't say that there's no, why it should be dismissed. There's certain evidential things that need to be adjudicated by a court, either by a judge or by a jury, because he has defamation. He has things that he has said, look, this has been a lie against me. This has been defamatory. And I can show there's malice because she has fabricated a story about talking to somebody from the show that doesn't seem to exist. This is stuff that needs to be adjudicated. Why the hell is there a motion to dismiss going to be granted then? Well, I don't think it will be. This is going to be the 27th of this month, or 27th. And I'm going to say right now, if that motion to dismiss is granted, then we have lost all common sense in the legal system. I cannot imagine in any reality why that motion would be dismissed, because he has a right to a fair trial to show people that he had been defamed, just like I do. So yes, I'm paying very close attention. This is critical to my case as well, of course, But I'm going to say it right now. Do I think the motion to dismiss is going to be approved? No. And if it is, I'm going to lose all hope. I'm going to be very sad. I'll be very depressed for a long period of time. It just proves that the system sucks. But did she say she talked to somebody at the Dr. Phil show? I don't think so either. I kind of vaguely remember her kind of talking about that. Oh, but my God, can you imagine if she went on Dr. Phil, how many people would go to the audience? I would go in the audience. It's filmed down here in Burbank. I could be there in a few hours. I would definitely be a panelist. I would have no problem speaking up against her on Dr. Phil. Not at all. So, all right, so it says, defendants Catherine Maskey Paulson, a.k.a. Katie Joy Paulson, and Without a Crystal Ball LLC have monetized a years-long campaign of lies directed at plaintiff Michael Todd Chrisley. In particular, they have repeatedly accused Mr. Chrisley of attempting to extort his daughter by threatening to release a sex tape featuring her and a man other than her husband if she would not lie to criminal investigators. I'm not sure. Let me read that again. If she would not lie to criminal investigators. And two, attempting to extort Miss Paulson herself. All right, so there's two factors here. One, again, the narrative that Katie Joy is running is that, okay, he has this lawsuit coming up for a tax evasion in May. He has a potential witness of his daughter. He is threatening his daughter. If you testify in the court case, I'll release a sex tape that her half brother has supposedly bought for $5,000, which I think is absolutely BS. I don't think for a second that happened. I don't know where that number came from, by the way. $5,000 seems awfully low for. I mean, we're talking about people that have some money here, right? $5,000 to people in the Todd Chrisley family is not a lot of money. I'm sorry. Like when you're worth millions and millions of dollars, $5,000 for something like that seems really low to me. But whatever. But the whole story is that, Todd Chrisley is extorting his own daughter by threatening to release this tape, which he has gone on record on his podcast and numerous other places to say, look, I never had a tape on this. I've never seen a tape. I don't even know if any such tape exists. There might be a tape. There might be some other blackmail involved. She alluded to this somewhere that there was somebody else trying to blackmail her for stuff, but they never said there was an actual tape or not. there might be more to it. There might be some blackmail attempt. There might be some kind of at least something against Lindsie that's affecting her mentally that's completely unrelated to her dad, which seems to be maybe the case because she has said, I did think my dad and my brother was involved at one time, supposedly, or something like that. But she has basically said, nope, they have nothing to do with anything. And so, she's asked, by the way, Katie Joy to stop doing this, and she hasn't. So Katie Joy has been running this narrative that, her father has been extorting her, and then to extort Miss Paulson herself. And then she says, defendants have used these salacious falsehoods to drive traffic to their social media outlets, broadcasting them to an audience of thousands in order to reap the resulting ad revenue. I believe that. Yeah, and super chats and other stuff as well. I absolutely 100% categorically believe that. And it's not even so much the revenue. I've been pointing this out the other night. And again, this is my own personal view. This is subjective. There's no objective fact of the matter to be had. But I mean, from what I know about Katie, and I do know Katie better than most people on this planet, as far as what she's capable of and dealing with her personally, that to her it's a power thing. It's not about the money. It's about the attention. She wants the attention. She sees those big numbers, and to her, she gets a dopamine rush out of it, right? I mean, I can get 10,000 people watching a video. I can get 1,000 people watching a video. I get 100 people watching a video. But the content's good. I stand by it, and I'm like, I like the content was good. I get one comment that says, hey, this is one of the best videos, or this was great. This topic was amazing. Yeah, I get a little dopamine hit off that because I enjoy that. That's to me is great. That's what I want to see. That is better than any large numbers, because you can have videos that are crap that have large numbers. But what would you rather have? A video that has 2,000 views that says, hey, this was a great discussion, or a video that's 10,000 views that says this was complete crap? Well, she would take the 10,000 views because negative attention to her is still attention, right? We're the complete opposites. I'm the antithesis of her. And so they say, Mr. Chrisley now seeks through this lawsuit to hold Miss Paulson and without a crystal ball to account, as well as he should. This is what I want. This is what Robert Shin wants. And I know that according to Todd Chrisley's podcast I listened to the other night, he had said there's 2 more lawsuits being filed. Now, I thought there was going to be 2 other lawsuits as well. They didn't follow through with them. They fell through. It happens. They were going to be filed, but they decided not to. Whatever. It happens, right? But I mean, I was telling you the truth. There were going to be 2 other lawsuits, but these were not the 2 other lawsuits I'm talking about. Not by any stretch of imagination. Do I think I know who they are? I mean, I could piece together stuff, and I think you guys as well have pieced together stuff. It would make sense to me who it is. It just makes sense. But we won't know for 2 weeks, right? But oh man, but if it is Lindsie and that says, hey, look, I'm not a witness, and this woman says I am, and all this other stuff, and she sues, and then her half brother says, hey, she accused me of buying a sex tape of my sister and for $5,000. He has a case too. I think that'd be pretty interesting. So I think both of them have a case. But let's see here. Defendants have responded with a motion to dismiss that attempts to rewrite. I love that word because that's so apropos. That's what she does, rewrite. Not just the defamatory statements at issue, but controlling law. This is an incredible statement right there. Again, I'm sure Emily Baker, when she does an analysis on this, she'll point out this very thing. I have a feeling that this is a pretty. She likes, as Emily would say, she likes snark. She likes shade. This, I think, is the lawyer throwing a little bit of snark and shade, right? Right? Because it's not just a dismiss, rewrite, and not just the defamatory statements at issue, but controlling law because she's trying to change the legal proceedings. She's trying to change the rules of law of discovery and the time scheduling for these things, right? She's basically saying in her last motion, hey, we just want to wait till after his May hearing. We don't want to give you all this stuff yet. We want to wait to see what happens because there may be stuff pertinent dealing with Lindsie that's relevant. And Todd Chrisley's lawyer is going, no, who gives a shit? What does that have to do with anything? You can't just arbitrarily say I'm not going to give you stuff because we're waiting for something else. No, it doesn't work like that. That's an unrelated case, right? Especially when it's pertinent to his saying that it's malicious, right? That it's with malice, that she has fabricated the story. He wants this information ASAP, right? And so, yeah, it is controlling law. It is controlling law. Their motion raises a series of issues typically left for a jury to decide, which I thought the same thing. I even said, hey, look, this is something that needs to be adjudicated by a judge or jury. This is nothing that you can just say, look, they got no case. Because Katie's always going around going, their case is frivolous. Their case is frivolous. No, his case is not frivolous. Robert Shin's case is not frivolous. My case is not frivolous. Matter of fact, she even said, oh, people that file pocket service are not serious. Oh, bullshit. We are all very serious. We've all been defamed. We've all feel like we have been put through the ringer from this freaking woman lying about us and saying malicious things constantly over years, right? And so she doesn't talk about me anymore, right? She refuses to mention my name, which is notable because I personally think I'm the biggest threat to her legally. But she also knows I'm the one that's least likely to be able to take it all the way to the end, but I'm trying, right? You know, I mean, obviously I don't have the means like Todd Chrisley has or Robert Shin has, but I'm doing whatever I can to make this happen. I mean, I've been working on this a lot. So, she knows though that I have the goods. Well, let me rephrase that. She doesn't know certain things. So let me rephrase that in a way that makes sense because she may know what I have, but I don't think she does. I don't think she knows what evidence I have. Because she hasn't gone that far in discovery, and I don't think my lawyers gave it to her yet. But if she does have what I have, she knows she's screwed. She would have to know she's screwed, or at least her lawyer would. I mean, whether she knows or not, because she doesn't understand these things, is irrelevant. He would have to know there's actual evidence there that she lied about me. So these things are something that we take all seriously, right? And then he says, and fails to cite even a single case that involving defamation were resolved on a motion to dismiss. That, to me, is very telling. That her lawyer didn't find a single solitary court case that had said this was an issue that was resolved by a motion to dismiss because it didn't meet certain statutes. It didn't meet certain conditions. For example, if, for example, a jurisdiction issue would be an issue, right? If somebody says, "Hey, look, this is the wrong jurisdiction, you can't sue me," or the court doesn't have jurisdiction over me, you can't sue me over this. That'd be different, right? That'd be hey, look, I have a motion to dismiss because hey, they filed in the wrong county, they filed in the wrong state. The court doesn't have control over me, right? They didn't find anything involving defamation though, about something that needs to be adjudicated as far as this is an argument that this person has lied about me. Other than, I'm assuming that this non-procedural stuff, because again, procedural stuff is resolved, right? It was resolved because, they weren't the correct jurisdiction, right? But this has nothing to do with jurisdiction. This has to do with this person has defamational claims. They weren't resolved by a motion to dismiss that they can find, and there's no citation. That's pretty telling. It's pretty telling. Defendants first contend that the fair and accurate reporting privileges shields Miss Paulson falsehoods. They're out just outright, she has falsehoods, and she's not going to be protected by this. But that privilege does not apply because, among other things, none of Miss Paulson's defamatory statements report on or summarize governmental proceedings or public records. Now, this is important. The laws that they say is talking about people that have reporting on either governmental proceedings or something that is from public record. If you repeat that and you say, look, there's a public record and the public record says this, you have a little more shielding, right? But she didn't do that. None of her sources were public records. None of her sources were from governmental proceedings. Even if some guy did talk to her from the show, the Chrisley Knows Best, that is not public record. That is not governmental proceedings. That is not something that she can shield by this journalistic, shield that, one, I don't think she's a journalist. Whether the courts determine she's, has those qualifications or not, that's up to them. But the Supreme Court has said that a YouTuber is not a journalist. So. What's it? Okay. Then it says, Miss Paulson further argues that Miss Chrisley must, at the pleading stage, come forward with, quote, evidence proving that her alleged defamatory statements are known lies. Not so. Mr. Chrisley only need plead, as he does, that Miss Paulson knew her statements to be false or that she had acted recklessly in making them. Okay, so you don't have to prove, and again, I always have to say this, I'm not giving legal advice. Go to Emily Baker for that. Or legal commentary. I'm just giving my own personal view and reading this stuff because I think it's pretty self-evident. But of course, you got people out there that totally screwed up the Kyle Curtis case. They read things completely wrong. And of course, he was right. Myself and OPT lawyer, Fred's rhetoric, and Bullinator and others involved in that. All of us were right when it came to the courts. Everything we said was correct. Yeah, maybe some major, not any major things, maybe a minor thing that we corrected here and there, but for the most part, we got everything correct. Our analysis was really good. My lawyer had never said, "Oh yeah, you got this completely wrong." He it's pretty easy to read the law if you look into it and then go see what they mean by these terms. So they're saying here, as I understand it, he doesn't have to prove in the complaint that she lied about anything, right? That's up to the jury in the trial. He's alleging it. You don't have to prove it in the complaint. He just has to say that he knew that her statements were reckless, and if she fabricated the story that somebody from the show called her, that's reckless, right? That's fabrication. That's malicious, and that's what he's alleged. That's what he pleads. So what evidence does he need to prove? He doesn't have to prove that the alleged statements are known lies. He only has to show that she acted with malice by saying something that wasn't true because she fabricated a story because she has nobody that she actually talked to from the show, which I think, again, is a major linchpin in this case. Yeah, Miss Page, I miss OPT's lawyer's take on things too. I mean, it sucks. It really does suck. Let's see here. Ms. Paulson also contends that the isolated phrases from her social media posts accusing Ms. Chrisley of extortion are literally true. Okay, so these are not just hyperbolic things. These are not just like, her opinion. Like, for example, like I believe very seriously that somebody, relating to the non-sequitur show recently tried to, blackmail me, implicitly blackmail me. I believe this. I'm convinced of this 100%. Okay. To me, this was an implicit blackmail. You can take it, you can leave it, you don't believe me, I don't give a shit. But how I view things, right? But this is my own personal opinion. But that's not slander, right? Slander is when you say somebody has tried to extort me, and they are a public figure, and they, like I said, hey, look, Todd Chrisley said to me, hey, Steve, you do this, or I'm going to release some personal. Well, if you're releasing information, it's blackmail. Would be extortion. I'm gonna send my goons to beat you up. Right? That's extortion. So there's a difference between extortion and blackmail. Blackmail is when somebody threatens to do something to harm your reputation, or release information, or something like that, along those lines. And if you do something, it's coercion. But extortion is more, you do this, or there'll be physical, ramifications. We'll come up and beat you up. We'll destroy your store, things of that nature. Those are more extortion. And so that would be the case if I had said, hey, Todd Chrisley extorted me by saying if I don't do this, that he's going to come beat me up, or send his goons to beat me up. It's like that. That'd be defamatory. That'd be absolutely defamatory, and because it's taken literally as true that this actually happened, that he had said something like that, right? So there's a difference in context, and you have to take things holistically, which his lawyer brilliantly points out. So they say, but it is axiomatic that the defamatory character of any particular statement must be construed in the context of the article as a whole. Exactly. She's not being hyperbolic here. She is, as a whole, been saying, hey, look, Mr. Chrisley is extorting me, threatening to do something if I don't do something, right? In this case, I guess bankrupts her or go after her channel, blah, 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 or whatever it is. But by the way, it's not extortion. But she is actually trying to say that he's actually extorting her. Okay, she could make, honestly, she can make that argument. I mean, she is allowed to make that argument, from what I understand, and that could be something that be adjudicated in court, right? But he can also make the argument that this is bullshit, this is a falsity, and this is him being slandered again, because she's accusing him of a crime. It's a double-edged sword. And so the fact that the individual phrases are true does not leave Ms. Paulson of liability when in context they plainly accuse Mr. Chrisley of criminal activity. Okay? So she's actually accusing him of a crime. According to Lee, defendant's motion to dismiss should be denied. And then all this background is what I read the other night, so I'm not going to get to read this over again because we want to go watch from the other nights. It's pretty much the same stuff. Well, you know what? No, you know what? Maybe I should read this because I think it is actually important. Sorry. I do got to end this about 10 o'clock, 10:30, because again, I got Dave Silverman coming on. But all right, Michael Chrisley is a real estate investor and star of the USA Network's reality TV program Chrisley Knows Best. The program follows Mr. Chrisley and his family. Lindsie Chrisley, Mr. Chrisley's oldest daughter, appeared on the show in a recurring role until its 5th season, at which point the network declined to include her in future seasons of the program. Miss Chrisley blamed her family, and particularly her father, for her exclusion from the show, and lashed out over media over the following years. So there was issues there with the show and family drama. Every family has it. As relevant here, on October 17, 2019, she appeared on the talk show Dr. Phil. During an interview, she recounted a meeting with her father. In Mrs. Chrisley's accounting of the meeting, she denied having an affair with a state official involving an investigation into her family, which again, sex tape, with somebody other than her husband, somebody involved with a case. I think, all this seems to be like a similar story. That she had, cheated on her husband with somebody involved with the case. She has denied that. She also related that Mr. Chrisley told her that Chase Chrisley, her half-brother, obtained a sex tape featuring her and a man other than her husband for $5,000. She's going to have to show evidence for that, I think. And if not, then I think Chase Chrisley has a lawsuit on his hands. I think this is defamatory. If she has said that he's done something like this to blackmail her, which is a crime, to release something whether the tape exists or not, that's defamatory. That's defamatory. If he did not do this, if he didn't, and I don't think for a second that he did, obviously. But there's a sex tape involved. I have no idea. There's been no evidence there's been a sex tape, but I'm not going to go out there and say that there isn't. I don't know. I'm going to be agnostic on the sex tape aspect. I don't know if there's any sex tape or anything like that. But I believe very strongly that this is BS, that her brother bought anything. I think it's complete bullshit. Good morning, Suzanne is Salty, that crazy feminist writer. Good morning. I'm going to have another donut here soon. I had some really good sugar this morning. She agreed when asked by Dr. Phil that she viewed this as a, quote, veiled threat. Okay. Now, again, she went on Dr. Phil saying that she thought that they're somehow involved in this. There's some kind of veiled threat there. Veiled threat. She didn't. I don't think she used the word blackmail ever. Maybe I didn't watch the episode, but whatever. From reading the documents. But Lindsie Chrisley's account of the meeting was inaccurate. It is simply false that Mr. Chrisley made any veiled threat against her. The defendant, Katie Paulson, is an internet personality and blogger producing content with a focus on reality TV. Through her company, Without a Crystal Ball, she monetizes her social media presence on YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. She publicly claims to be close friends with Lindsie Chrisley, finds out that's not quite the case. A relationship that helps her distinguish her from her competing internet personalities with a similar focus. We've seen her do this. We've seen her latch on to people to try to clout chase, as they call it, which is so funny. When I have people tell me I clout chase, I'm like, who the fuck? I don't give a shit about clout. I will have on somebody who has 10 subs or a million subs. I don't give a rat's fucking ass. All I care about is the content. So anybody who says I clout chase is just out to fucking lunch. I'm having David on, as I've known Dave for years. He's been on before. I've been on his program. There's no clout there. And we don't agree on much. I'm not like bolstering David Silverman up. I know a lot of people have issues with him, but doesn't mean I'm not going to talk to the guy. I'm going to talk to whoever I want to. And if you don't want to watch, don't watch. If you don't like the guy, don't watch. If I'm never going to ever, and I'm telling you guys here and now, I'm never on the Non Sequitur show is going to cater to people telling me who I can and cannot talk to. And that means I have one person watching, that's fine. I refuse to have this cancel culture where you have two groups of people. One supports them, one doesn't. And so the one that doesn't says, oh, you've talked to this person. That's happened way too often. And then you get the other people going, wow, you've associated with the person. Well, so much. I associate with a lot of people. It doesn't mean I support them. But I will note this. I want to thank certain people that have actually come to me personally to talk about things and then see my point of view, and everything works out, seems to be pretty well. I respect that to no end. I do. So there's a lot of people I respect in this community immensely, because they're able to come to me and talk to me and not just jump on some kind of bandwagon. And I'll give you one of them. Suzanne, I think is amazing. I have the utmost respect for Suzanne. She has been very supportive. I like to think I've been there for her. She's been there for me. And I think that makes a difference. And so to the authorities investigating in her family. Indeed, Ms. Paulson has gone further than merely repeating this falsehood. She has embroidered it and variously claimed and implied that she possesses independent corroborating evidence to bolster it. I knew. I thought there was some shady stuff she was doing. You know why? You don't have to convince me. I know she plagiarized you. I completely 100% believe she took your stories and ran with them. Absolutely. But anyways, that we'll never go watch Suzanne's videos on her channel on that. She lays it all out. And so I love that though. She embroidered it, and said she has independent corroborating evidence to bolster it, which is, again, she said she had been contacted by some anonymous person who she didn't get the information from of who they were if they did call, which, again, something that any journalist would tell you. You need to verify your source. You can't just have an anonymous person and say, oh, look, somebody anonymous called me. Not at this level. Like, if I said it, who the hell cares? I'm a nobody, man. I'm not a public figure. So if I told you, hey, look, somebody called me up and they told me this, this, and this, whatever. Believe me or don't believe me. I'm not trying to convince you of anything. I would hope to God by now you guys realize I do fucking tell the truth, and that every time I tell you something, it is with good intent. If it's found out wrong later on, I correct it. If I make a mistake, I try to correct it. But I have the most goodwill as far as everything I've said about the Non Sequitur show has come to fruition. It was true. Kyle was lying about all this stuff. I have said it ad nauseum that he was bullshitting from day one, right? So when she's made these statements that she has been talking to somebody that she didn't get their information from, it's going to require a little bit more evidence than that. It's not like just somebody like myself who's a nobody who says it. Now, again, people know when they come to me, they're going to get evidence of it. Hey, Steve, you said somebody contact you. Can I get more information on it? If I can give you more information, I will. But there's been no time somebody has said, oh, yeah, Steve made that story up. No, never. Right? I'm going to... There's a reason why I'm protecting somebody who said something, and I say, look, I'm not going to repeat who they are. I'll tell you what they said, maybe in private. But people have come to me. They respect when I tell them, look, I love you, but I can't give you any more information on that. Right? And then I ask the person, hey, do you mind if I give them information? They say yes. And then I do. And then they realize, yes, Steve's telling me the truth, right? But this is where it gets interesting, right? Her false statements include the following. Now, this is I think, new. This wasn't on the other one. Ready for this? On October 19th, 2019, Ms. Paulson posted a now deleted. You notice how I love the way they put that. Posted a hyphen, now deleted hyphen. This is to draw attention to this. Again, this is what I think Emily Baker would be throwing some shade out there, if I can use her turn or phrase. And no, I'm not trying to pretend to be Emily Baker. I know somebody's probably going to think that because they're just stupid. But I mean, I look at this, and this is something it's pointed out. This is like putting it almost in bold, right? To draw attention to it. Now deleted, right? I don't think I'm looking at it inappropriately to say that this was to draw attention to that. YouTube video lasting more than 45 minutes in which she speculated at length that Mr. Chrisley was involved in a plot to extort his daughter. Ms. Paulson stated that Chase Chrisley and, quote, possibly Todd were coercing Lindsie and Robbie. Their assumption here is that Chase was attempting to obtain a video or nude photos that he would have of Lindsie in an effort to leverage over her in order to threaten her to cooperate with the investigation. That's pretty damning. Again, I don't know if there's a video. I don't know if there's nude photos. I have no information whatsoever. People send, nude photos and stuff like that to people that they're with all the fucking time. Everybody's adults. You never share that shit. Revenge porn is unethical. Don't ever fucking do it. You're a piece of shit if you do. But, maybe Lindsie has shared some nude photos with her husband, or I have no idea. I literally swear to God, I have no fucking clue. Nor do I care. But this is has allegations that her half-brother tried to obtain that kind of stuff, which is defamatory if not true. Chase would have a case on that, I think. Now, I don't know if he's talked to a lawyer or not, whatever. But, can you imagine, though? Can you imagine, like, 3 of the same family members suing somebody? I mean, you've already got Robert Shin suing her, and then they recently added Miranda and her husband. That's 3 people right there. Now, there's possibly 2 more people suing, according to Todd. And it would make sense who they are, but that would be for the same family is pretty. I don't know if they'd be added on or they'd be separate. I have no idea how that would ever even work. But man, that's like that's pretty bad when there's 3 people that one of them is suing and 2 people I think would have a pretty strong case. All right. In another now deleted YouTube video from October 19th. 2019, Miss Paulson falsely claimed that, quote, somebody anonymously from the Chrisley Knows Best show crew actually reached out to me to let me know they watched Lindsie Chrisley's interview on Dr. Phil and they said, quote, I believe her. I'm not even lying. Again, who cares if there's somebody who just believes them? That doesn't give any evidence to anything, right? I mean, it seems to be to bolster her story. And even if this is true, again, I don't think it is true. If I'm wrong about that, I'm happy to admit that and say, okay, yeah, she was telling her the truth that somebody called her. Okay. But the problem is that if this is true, she didn't get the information of this person, which shows she didn't do due diligence, which means that she recklessly just repeated stuff based on hearsay, that based on some third party. That's not how it works. You're not allowed to do that when you're defaming somebody like this. So she has to show evidence that this conversation took place. I don't know how she would do that. I don't know if she has phone records. I have no idea how she would go about it. That's up to her. That's her defense. But she's saying here that somebody from the crew said, I believe them. Okay, so what? How does that add veracity to the story or not? So what if somebody believes Todd or not? Did they give her a reason why they believed it? They say, look, I was there when Chase Chrisley tried to obtain this tape? No, it was nothing like that. Miss says, I'm wondering if it's Clark Swanson. I don't think so. I don't think Clark Swanson cares about any of that. I mean, if I had to guess, I'm going to say I think it's probably Lindsie and Chase, but I don't know anything about Chase very much. I would just say by reading this, that he has a case. I mean, if somebody says that I try to obtain blackmail, information on somebody, whether it be a family member or not, that's slanderous. That's defamation. So that's completely slanderous. And then Miss Paulson goes on to falsely claim that Todd Chrisley approached Lindsie and told her about the nude photos and a video that her brother Chase obtained for $5,000. Well, there's be some financial records of this, right? I mean, in theory, if this is what happened, which again, I don't think for a second that it did, there would be probably some kind of financial way of determining this. I mean, again, $5,000 doesn't seem like a lot of money for these people. But if you go to and if you take out $5,000 from the bank or something like that, there might be a record of it that day. I mean, most people don't carry around $5,000 worth of cash. They might. I mean, they've got that kind of money. But generally speaking, even people with money don't carry around that kind of money. It's just no reason to. If you got to carry around $5,000, why? I mean, you could be. I doubt Elon Musk carries around more than a couple 20s with him at any given time. Maybe a couple hundred. I mean, it's just people don't carry around that kind of money. And that she needed to be careful about what she said or things wouldn't end well. With the implication that the PR team might leak a story with containing those nude photos or that she was having that she was having an affair. So she's saying that somebody had approached her. Oh, that she's saying that Todd Chrisley approached Lindsie and said, look, I have this video and nude photos that Chase got for $5,000 and you need to be careful or things wouldn't end well, with the implication that they might be leaked with a Georgia state official, which is somebody that was involved in the investigation, I think. So there was that commonality there. So supposedly she had an affair with somebody that worked for the Georgia state official with the FBI or the IRS or whatever it was. Again, no knowledge of that whatsoever. Don't fucking care one way or another, be honest with you, because it's irrelevant whether she had an affair or not. It doesn't seem like to be the case, though. I have not seen a shred of evidence to support that. But it's irrelevant whether she did or didn't to this, I think. Absolutely irrelevant. It is, did Chase try to do this? Did he get a tape? Did he pay for it? And was there extortion? Was there a threat to say, you don't testify or I'm going to release this? Well, clearly not so far. There's been no evidence of this. Nothing. Yeah, I mean, there might be some people, Suzanne, to carry that kind of money around, but generally speaking, most people don't. I mean, I carry around like a buck. This is what I have. I leave a few dollars on my table. I use it for bus. I don't carry that much. Everything's debit based or credit based. In another YouTube video dated October 23rd, 2019, Ms. Paulson again stated at length that the allegation that Ms. Chrisley threatened to release sex tape if Lindsie Chrisley did not cooperate. Now, again, when it's put in parentheses, from what I understand, that's not exactly what was said. It's just basically, referring to, right, to release it, release if the sex tape, meaning that it's applied that it's a sex tape being released and that it's Lindsie Chrisley that is being threatened. So if she didn't cooperate with Todd, that was threatened to be released. She further stated that the tweets Mr. Chrisley had posted much earlier were, quote, clearly threats that he was going to release this tape. Really? Well, that's what's going to have to be proven, right? That's going to be in the court of law, right? Because she's literally has now, as a whole, right? Remember, the lawyer had said this has to be taken as a whole, that she's slandering him, saying that, yeah, these are threats that Chrisley has, that if she doesn't do his bidding, that there'll be repercussions. Things won't end well, right? By the way, I just thought of something. I'm thinking here. This is my thinking cap. Let me give me 30 seconds there. I'm trying to recollect. I'm trying to recall something here. Okay. I want to run something by you here because I just had a thought. I just had a thought. I know I get those every so often, right? Not an epiphany per se. Well, I don't know, maybe. But Little Miss Betty Page says, I wish somebody would pay $5,000 for my sex. No kidding, right? Right? I can't even give mine away for $5,000, Little Miss Betty Page. I get it. And by the way, why don't you have a moderator thing here? Sorry about that. I know you got it on my other channel. Little Miss Betty Page. And by the way, I hope you're doing well, by the way. Let me throw that out there. But let me ask you guys this. I need you guys to really pay attention for me here. I really want you to think about this. Going back to here, it says things wouldn't end well, right? That's the term that Katie Joy has used. Now, Suzanne might remember more than most, but do you guys remember on the Kate Baxter stream with Waxy when Katie Joy had said that she had verified that there was death threats being sent out and that she had verified they were my account, which was bullshit. We all know that was bullshit now. Nothing was ever sent. So the account that she showed I never even sent anybody a DM on that particular account. I do have more than one Instagram. I'm happy to admit that, but it has my name in it. I mean, it's not like I'm hiding it. It has Steve. Ask anything. I mean, it's my account. Sure. Yes, that's absolutely my Instagram. I don't use it for anything, though. I've never DM'd anybody on it. You can get the entire history. You can serve, that, and you can say from Instagram, hey, can you give us all the data? And the data will show that I've never once DM'd anybody from it. But she never saw any DM from it. She said she verified that I sent a DM for that particular account, which never happened, obviously. But didn't the message in that supposedly that I sent that somebody was saying, and we're not gonna mention the Beetlejuice name. But didn't they say that they didn't listen to Steve? Things wouldn't end well? Or something along those lines? I don't remember the exact phrasing. But wasn't it that? Yeah. Do you want the wrench? Because you move from green to blue when you do that. I don't know if you want the wrench. Do you like having the green there, Little Miss Betty Page? You tell me. Tell me if you want to keep the wrench or not. Because I think I don't know. It sucks that you lose the green because I know you're a member and I appreciate that. When you become a mod, but let me know if you want the wrench or not. But do you guys remember what I'm talking about? I don't remember the exact phraseology that was used, but it's something along the lines of somebody was saying, of course, that, you need to listen to Steve and Little Miss Noble or things won't end well or bad things will happen. Something along those lines. Very similar, wasn't it? Very similar phrasing. Maybe not be exactly the same phrase, but it was very, very similar. I just wanted to throw that out there that there's, do this or bad things will happen or things won't end well. It's similar phraseology. Again, I don't remember exactly what was said, but I just want to throw that out there. All right, no problem. And so going on there, in January 5th, 2020, YouTube video, Miss Paulson again repeated the alleged allegation that Mr. Chrisley had attempted to extort his daughter with a sex tape. She stated, among other things, among other similar statements, quote, "Who would want to read stuff from a father that is constantly saying negative things about you and hell, threatening to release, trying to buy a tape between you and your ex because they are mad at you because you wouldn't lie to federal prosecutors, according to, or federal prosecutors really into an investigation into his alleged tax evasion." Wow, that is defamatory. That's straight up saying, hey, look, this person is threatening her. This person is extorting her. This person says, do this or I'll release a sex tape. This is evidence of defamation right here. This was, by the way, I don't think this was included in the complaint. As you know, Allie had pointed out, he had a lot more. She even said there's got to be more too he's sitting on. Yeah, I even said the same thing. Oh, I believe there's vastly more that he was sitting on. It just makes sense. Well, here you go. He's there. He's now his lawyer and him are now saying, hey, look, there is more to it. This is what it is to the court by saying, hey, look, we have a right to have our day in trial because look, this is the stuff she said. You can't just dismiss this. You can't just say a motion to dismiss because what reasons? What are the reasons? She slandered him. In a series of tweets dated June 25th, 2020, Ms. Paulson repeated again the falsehood that Mr. Chrisley threatened his daughter with releasing a sex tape. Ms. Paulson alluded to receiving, quote, private details or information from Lindsie Chrisley and stated with regard to the allegation that Mr. Chrisley attempted to extort his daughter with a sex tape. I believe her. So she was saying then, and I remember this, that, she was like, oh, I'm besties with Lindsie or friends with Lindsie, and Lindsie has confided in me and told me all this other stuff. And I remember very specifically, Todd had been saying that he wanted those communications. By the way, I think he actually said he had all the communications with his daughter. And all this was bullshit. Do you guys remember in a podcast, he had actually said that he's already gotten all the communications, and Lindssie's already given them all to him, if I'm not mistaken. And there's just nothing in there. And so she now has the onus. Katie has the onus to show these conversations with Lindsie Chrisley. This is what's part of the discovery. She needs to show that Lindsie Chrisley was telling her this stuff. Because Lindsie Chrisley is denying all this stuff, right? Lindsie Chrisley's like, no, I never said this to her. She flat out said she hasn't said it to her. And she's like telling her, hey, implicitly, right? This is implicitly from watching her little Instagram thing. She's basically saying, stop calling my number, stop texting me, I'm going to change my number. This, I think, was directed to Katie, obviously. I don't know who else she could be talking to, right? I'm not saying it was directed to Katie because she didn't say Katie's name, but it sure seems to be that case. On August 13, 2021, Ms. Paulson created a Facebook post implying that Mr. Chrisley was involved in a plot to extort his daughter by stating, quote, in a text message allegedly between Todd Chrisley and Lindsie Chrisley, Todd alleged that she was worth $5,000 to her friend. Her claim to have factual knowledge of the video. So basically, she's saying, hey, Todd told Lindsie, hey, you're only worth $5,000 to your friend. You know, you're only worth $5,000. We got the sex tape from your friend because you were only worth $5,000 to him. Okay, well, who the sex tape come from? If it did exist, who did it come from? You know. So none of that. There's been nothing on that. There's been nothing where the sex tape has even come from. Again, I don't think there was a sex tape. If there was, I don't care. But to me, it's irrelevant whether there's a sex tape or not. I mean, I should say it's 100% irrelevant. If there was no sex tape, obviously everything that follows afterwards is just poisonous, right? It's just domino effect, right? There's no sex tape. There's nothing to blackmail. Everything falls apart. But if there was a sex tape, there has to be this continuation of events for her father to use it as blackmail, which doesn't seem to be the case because Lindsie has said, no, this is all bullshit. My father never did any of this like this. We never had these communications. I never said anything like that to my father. I've never said anything like that to Katie Joy. So there not being a sex tape, just basically she's done. I mean, she's game over for her. She's going to end up probably owing him millions. If there's no sex tape, I think it's good game. If there's a sex tape, I still think it's probably good game because she has to show that all this actually happened. So even if there's a sex tape, all this could be completely irrelevant. It could be, she could be fabricating this completely huge story around something that has completely different aspects to it. And that might be the case. There might be something completely tangential that Lindsie was talking about, because she was a little bit in code a little bit. She was a little bit, I don't want to say obfuscating, but she was definitely trying to relate to people. Hey, there's more going on to this. There's been mental anguish that's affected me in this. And there's a lot more that's going on that people know of. And I know to be like that. I've lived that. I've lived that when I'm like, fuck, man, there's a lot more than what people know that's going on. But one, they don't have the right to know it or privy to it, or it's just personal. But it sucks when you know shit that other people don't know, and you can't tell them. Either it's because, it's just not the right time. Oh, okay, so this is interesting. Somebody had said, the Organized Chaos said, the story was that Lindsie Chrisley was at a friend's house who had a puppy cam, and she was caught having sex with Robbie Hayes, the Bachelorette star, on a friend's couch. I knew nothing about that. I've never heard that before. Do you have a link to that or something? I'm just going to... Oh, you want to blow it up? Is this too small? I'm sorry. Yeah, I can make this larger. How's that? That better? My apologies. I didn't realize it was too small. As somebody said. You guys, if it's not big enough, let me know. Yeah. Okay, yeah. I mean, just throw that on Twitter or something. I'm just kind of curious. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying that that's the first I've heard of any of that. But even still, irrelevant, right? Even if that's the case, let's say that she did have an affair. Let's say that she did have a sex tape, which, again, a puppy cam, right, or a nanny cam or anything like that is not the same as people going out of the way to make a sex tape, right? When people hear sex tape, they think two consenting adults filming themselves having sex. Because when Todd Chrisley was talking about this on his podcast, that's how he's using the phrase. He even said, "Why I don't understand why people want to film themselves having sex, because it's personal." And I'm kind of the same way. Look, I have no interest in filming that kind of stuff. It's just I wouldn't watch a sex tape involving me. If I'm not going to watch a sex tape involving me, I wouldn't expect anybody else to want to watch it either, right? So but that would be a difference between what we call a sex tape as far as like a hidden camera, right? So there might be a lot more to it. I don't know. And to me, it's completely fucking irrelevant, to be honest with you. The only relevancy is that if it didn't all happen, then all this is just, she's done, right? Because there's no story there. If it did happen, it still seems like she embellished it. It still seems like she falsely accused Todd Chrisley. That even Lindsie had said, no, my dad wasn't a part of any of this. So even if there was a sex tape, even if she did have an affair, which might be very personal to her, it still seems to me that Without a Crystal Ball is completely screwed. Completely screwed, because she's made false allegations relating to that, right? It's very similar to like Jesus mythicism, right? Even if mythicism is true, then Jesus doesn't exist, and of course all Christianity is false. But even if if mythicism isn't true, it doesn't prove Christianity. It's just, there's other steps you need to get to. And so she has to show in court the steps she got to in order to show that her father did these things. And I don't know how she would ever go about doing that. I just don't. She has no evidence of it. Doesn't seem like that's the case. I completely think that's bullshit. I don't think her father did any of this. I do believe him. So, and I believe Lindsie even said, no, he didn't do any of this. She would know, right? She would know. She would be in contact with him and said, no, this never happened. And the person reporting on this is reporting misinformation. And it's affecting her mentally, right? So, I mean, so far, you guys are you guys on board with me on this? Right? Are you guys on board that you agree with me or disagree? I'm just kind of curious. Get a straw poll out there. All right. So on August 21st, 2021, Ms. Paulson made an Instagram post discussing Mr. Chrisley and referring to the allegation that Mr. Chrisley attempted to extort his daughter with a sex tape and naked pictures. And noted that the Lindsie Chrisley had posted a screenshot of Todd Chrisley and Lindsie talking about the sex tape at a $5,000 price tag. The screenshot indicates that Lindsie Chrisley did not believe her father to be involved in any effort to extort her by threatening to release a sex tape. Ms. Paulson concludes the post by stating, extortion is a felony, referencing the false claim that Mr. Chrisley attempted to extort his daughter. And I remember that. She's trying to run this story that, hey, look, extortion is a felony. He's already been, under investigation for supposedly tax fraud, which is going to be resolved, in a future, proceedings with the IRS. Which again, I don't think it's going to have anything happen to it. I just think it's going to be. He already resolved the other thing. They already found out that he didn't have any kind of a issue, and so I think he paid something off, $270,000 or things like that, to be whole, and it was done. It was like, okay, fine, but no breaking of the law or anything like that. And so she's like making the story, look, extortion is a felony, but she did the same thing to me. She said that I committed fraud and that fraud was illegal. So how is it she's extorting, or excuse me, she's slandering him and not slandering me? It's the same thing. She's telling people that I've committed fraud that it didn't happen, that she had no evidence for, and that she apologized later for and then retracted the apology. Kawasa 5000 says maybe Katie Joy can use Bayesian analysis. Yeah, right. Yeah. But thank you, Kawasa. Yeah, I don't think she would even know what Bayesian is. Miss Paulson broadcasted these false statements in an audience of thousands, despite knowing them to be false. She did so to strengthen her media accounts for her own financial benefit and that of her company. Ms. Paulson knew these statements were false based upon a relationship and regular communications with Lindsie Chrisley, because he knew that they had been in contact. Lindsie and her have talked, but supposedly Lindsie has already turned over all this stuff, and nothing in there corroborates what Katie's saying, which is pretty damning. Ms. Paulson further understood that the sensationalistic and probable nature of the allegations. Ms. Paulson also knew that she had not received inside information from the anonymous Chrisley's best crew member or from Lindsie Chrisley herself corroborating these statements, and falsely claimed and implied otherwise to bolster her own credibility. In other words, his allegations are that, one, nobody's ever talked to her on this from the show. That was completely made up. And she and Lindsie never had those conversations that she's talking about, that's saying that Lindsie was telling her all this stuff, because he has all those communications, from what I understand. Right? If he has all the communications from Lindsie, and Lindsay's telling people, oh, no, we didn't have any of these conversations, and then it's up to Katie to produce them. Right? If Katie had these conversations, she's able to produce them. That's what discovery is about. This is pertinent to the case. Right? Like in our case, in the fact that she has slandered me, she has to produce evidence that, one, I fabricated stuff that I never fabricated. That's up to her. She has to show that I had DMs and I had communications with people that I never had communications with, because that's her allegations. She has to show that. Okay? But she can't do that. You cannot show something that wasn't the case. So if she did not talk about this with Lindsie, there's nothing to produce. Unless she pulls a Kyle Curtis and completely, tries to fabricate evidence, which would be very, very stupid. But hey, Kyle did it, and they were co-hosts with each other, just saying, birds of a feather. But I don't think that she would. I don't think that Katie's going to fabricate evidence in order for this court case. I think that would even be beyond her. I just don't think that I think she might for like legal stuff. Who the fuck knows? I don't put anything past her. But I think that. I don't think she would be stupid enough to, and I hate to say that because I don't think she's that bright, obviously, but it's to fabricate evidence to a court, you've got to have just balls of fucking steel, man. And I just don't think she has that. Now, Kyle had balls of fucking steel. I'll give him that. He had balls of fucking steel to deliberately alter bank records and things of that nature. But we know why that cost him, right? We know that it actually did put him it kept him in jail, I should say. So. Katie Joy's lawyer is Anthony Riley. Yeah, and look, I know Graham's doing his job. I get it, all right. But there has to be a point where somebody says, "Look, this person is so problematic and so toxic that they're are they lying to me or not?" I don't know. I'm not privy to their conversations, so. And she says, "Is that why she tried to get all correspondence between us?" I think so, but again. Correspondence between all of us is irrelevant to anything. The 3 allegations she has against me, which are bullshit, there's nothing to be had by getting any of the correspondence. It's not relevant, right? She can't go on a fact-finding mission by somebody else's correspondence. If she thinks that I fabricated something, she has the onus to prove that. She can't say, "Oh, I want such and such evidence from who? Who did I fabricate this shit with? Nobody." I have the exculpatory evidence of where I got, certain screenshots from. I know who I got them from, right? I have that evidence. I still think they're real. So to say that I made shit up, oh no, she has to prove that. She doesn't need my shit for that. She's not going to get my discovery or, my personal messages with people without a court order because it has no relevancy to what she's alleging. But if she did, that's fine. Give me a name. If the court said, hey, because there's a difference between between what Todd's doing, what she's doing to try to lay my correspondence. Todd says, look, she's fabricated this. The evidence that shows that, she's been malicious because even if she contacted somebody from the show or somebody contacted her from the show, who was it? She didn't get any information on it. She's slandering me of this. And so if Katie would say, hey, look, Steve's for some reason slandered me on this or whatever on screenshots, and I think that he made them, then sure, yeah, I'll give her all that with a court order. Yeah, she can have all my DMs for all I care. They were going to be made public anyways in regards to all that, so I don't care. It just shows that she was wrong. That's all. So. See here, and Miss Paulson eventually moved another publications at issue with from her various social media pages, and again demonstrating her knowledge of the falsity. This is pretty damning in itself. There is something to be said when you're under an order of preservation that when you delete stuff, there can be sanctions that the judge can give the jury directions to say, look, you could infer that the information was negative for the person. You can make that inference. Now, what it was, who the hell knows? But when you start hiding stuff, there's an inference to be had that information is detrimental. And it's so funny because all of us keep records, right? All of us don't delete stuff for reasons. We want the record to be complete. I go out of my way to make sure the record's complete. That's why I keep records of stuff. This is why I have evidence. She's deleted, this is facts and evidence. She has deleted her entire Facebook account. At least once. I think maybe even twice, but at least once that I know of. She's deleted how many Twitter accounts? How many has she deleted when she gets busted on something? That's damning. And this is what this is pointing out, that she eventually moved a number of publications at issue on from her social media. That's damning. Knowing that the court can interpret that, her knowing that they're false, and she's removed them. And I swear to God, I love when somebody has said, well, Steve's gone back and deleted a bunch of tweets. Really? Show me. Show me. I had somebody, it was a while ago, I swear to God, it was hilarious because they're like, oh yeah, Steve deleted all the tweets and references to this person. And then you go search and they're all still there. It's like, God damn, are you stupid? Yeah. In addition to the above, Ms. Paulson has recently taken to claiming that Mr. Chrisley attempted to extort her as well. In a series of social media posts, Ms. Paulson falsely stated that in responding to her serial harassment, Mr. Chrisley had acted criminally. These claims include the following. On August 6, 2021, Mr. Paulson wrote on Twitter, today we served, Ms. Paulson wrote on Twitter, quote, today we served Todd Chrisley's attorney with a cease and desist for defamation, extortion. I mean, it just writes itself, man. She's literally saying right here, extortion. And torturous interference. Of what? Where was the torturous interference? I'm kind of curious about that. But I remember this. For the threats he's made over the past 3 weeks. It is against the law to threaten or destroy someone unless they provide private information. Extortion is a felony. I remember that. As a matter of fact, she tried to pull the shame bullshit with me, saying that, oh, Steve told me if I didn't do this, he would destroy me. Never said any of the sort. There's no evidence of that because it never happened. And even still, that's hyperbolic language, right? I mean, again, it's not... I wouldn't take that as obviously extortion because first of all, I have no ability to destroy her. Her channel is, 10, 20, 30, fucking whatever told times size mine is, right? She's almost 10 times bigger than the Non Sequitur show. That is, 30,000. She's got almost pushing probably 30,000, 280,000. So, how am I going to destroy her, right? It's a veiled threat, obviously if that was to be the case. So there's nothing I could do to destroy Katie Joy. Now, maybe she might have a case that he's more influential, has more power. Okay, I can see that. I can at least try to see that. But that's not what he did. He's basically saying, look, you've lied about me. Tell the truth. Give me the information I requested, or we go to court, which he did. But she's actually even says right here, where she says extortion and torturous interference. Okay, where was that? There's been no evidence of torturous interference other than from her. Not in this particular case, but in the Robert Shin case. But what evidence of extortion is there? Now, again, maybe she's sitting on a gold mine of evidence that we don't know about, right? Maybe she has like things, maybe she's got databases full of evidence that we just don't know about, that we're not privy to. I mean, Mike, sorry about that. But, obviously I don't think that's the case, right? So, the same day, Miss Paulson wrote a post on Instagram. Oh, by the way, that was deleted, obviously, I think. Posted on Instagram with a screenshot of the above tweet stating, quote, extortion is a felony and punishable by prison time. Same thing she said about me, which I have all those things. Fraud is a crime. And again, yes, that's true. That's a true statement that fraud is a crime. But it's implying that I've committed fraud that never happened. She's implying that he committed extortion, which doesn't seem to be the case. At this time, we have not reported this to the FBI. Like, they've given a shit. Threatening someone to hand over private information or else you will ruin them. Extortion under the law is a criminal felony. We take these threats seriously. Mr. Chrisley is on bond for federal charges related to a 9-count indictment, which has no relevancy to anything. That's character assassination. This is hey, because he's involved in this, therefore he must have done this, which is bullshit. But the thing is that's not what's happening. He's not threatening her to release private information. He's telling her, you have defamed me. You have said things that this person from the show has called you and said these things. That is not private information anymore because you made it public. You made the threat public. You made the statement public that he has threatened his daughter and blackmailed his daughter. Therefore, your communications with this person is up for grabs. It's up for discovery. That's what I think he's going under the guise of. He's not asking for any private information. He's not saying, hey, I want your private correspondence between, Katie Joy and Katie Joy's mom or something like that. That's private information that has no relevance to anything. He's asking for a very specific contextualized piece of information that has relevance and is germane to his court case, to his allegations that she has committed this with malice, because that would show malice if she fabricated this. So yeah, it's not private information at that point. She has made that statement publicly that she has talked to somebody from the show that has said these things that they believe him, which again, I don't know why that's not any relevance, but she made that public. If she had not made any of that public, then yeah, I don't think he has a right to that information, right? If it was private communication, then I would be the first one to say, Todd, I don't see how you can get that information. I would be out there fighting for, security and freedom to say what you want privately kind of stuff. I mean, I don't believe that people have a right to other people's information, all right? But this is a different case. This is her making that public. And so, yeah, she opened herself up to that. Big shout out to Renell Smith out there. Hi, Renell. How are you doing today? Been digging your stuff. And by the way, there's a lot of stuff in here. I don't know if you watched from the beginning, but a lot of stuff in here, Renell. And I'd love to get your take on this stuff too. Especially, I want to know what you think of this particular video on my last one that I did. If you're on the same page as me, because Renell and I don't know Renell very well, but every time I listen to her, we're on the same page. Just like, damn, she reading my mind. What up with that? It's scary. Stop that. But we think a lot alike. I listen to her stuff. My roommate here and moderator who's passed out, she listens to Renell religiously. I mean, just religiously. And so I'm like, yeah, what she said, yeah, Renell's right. So, but like I said, if you watch these videos, Renell, love to get your input on them. I do respect your judgment. And if you say I'm wrong, I'm blocking you. Just kidding. I'm just kidding. Again, these accusations of criminal conduct were these accusations of criminal conduct were false. Mr. Chrisley never attempted to extort Miss Paulson, which I believe. Despite knowing these statements to be false, Miss Paulson broadcasted them to an audience of thousands. Yep. She did the same thing to me. By spreading the foregoing falsehoods, Miss Paulson has damaged Mr. Chrisley's reputation and caused him emotional distress. Absolutely. Yeah. Kind of a given. I gotta wrap this up soon. So, defendants moved to dismiss under Minnesota's Rule of Civil Procedure 12.02e. Under Minnesota's liberal notice pleading standard, Rule 12.02, motion dismissed for failure to state a claim will be denied, quote, if it is possible on any evidence which might be produced consistent with the pleader's theory to grant the relief demanded. I'm not going to read all that. In determining whether a complaint sets forth a legally sufficient claim, the court must, quote, accept the facts alleged in the complaint as true and construe all reasonable inferences in favor of the non-moving party. So the moving party in this case is Todd. They have to accept what he's saying as at least true enough to bring a court case, right? It's called the burden of objection. To produce something, to produce enough to say, look, I have reasonable grounds that I believe this person has defamed me, and I want a jury or judge to adjudicate this. He has absolutely met those criteria. I don't see how for a second somebody can say that he has not met those the sufficiency to say, look, these are the conditions by which she's done this. These are defamatory statements. There's nothing to move. There's no grounds for a motion to dismiss other than pro forma. I understand it's pretty common to try to get motions, to things dismissed by filing a motion. But this motion to dismiss was boilerplate. There was nothing to it. It was like, there's nothing to their case. Dismiss it, please. They didn't give reason. They didn't give cause. They didn't give citation. Nothing about why it should be dismissed. Nothing. Their argument for the fair and reporting accurate privilege does not apply. Generally, the common law, this was interesting. Generally, the common law republication rule, quote, provides that a speaker who knows or should know that a statement is false and defamatory but repeats it is equally liable for the defamation as the original speaker. This is what I said earlier. On the republication law, if you're an editor of a magazine and somebody sends you something, commentary or whatever, that defames somebody, that says this person, blah, 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 that's completely defamatory on his face, and you print that, you are liable. You're not shielded for that. You can't just say, oh, look, these are just the other people saying that. I've just printed their editorial. In the editorial section of a magazine, the editor or whoever's going to be in charge of that section has to read these things. And if there's something in there that's completely defamatory, they can't print it. They're going to be held just as liable because the replication rule says that you should be smart enough to go, hey, look, this is defamatory. This is not true. And I'm going to publish this. No, you're just as equally as liable as the person who originally said it. Right? And anybody who's in journalism would probably know this. Let me ask Suzanne. Suzanne, you were probably the most experienced person in journalism here. First of all, I think this is common sense. I really do. I think this is just the republication rule. This is common sense. But do you agree that no editor worth their salt would allow you, when you work for Pathos, to say, hey, this person, they did all these illegal things as factual stuff. You just make up the stuff on this person, and then you print that, and the editor goes, well, these are just Suzanne's thoughts. No, Pathos would have been liable. So I mean, do you agree that an editor has a responsibility to do that, Suzanne? Defendants first argue that Ms. Pulse's defamatory statements fall within the fair and accurate reporting privilege, which, quote, is an exception to the common law republication rule. It doesn't. And affirmative defense. It shields from liability one who publishes an, quote, accurate and complete record or report or fair abridgment of public proceedings or public records that would be otherwise defamatory. In other words, the way I'm interpreting this, if there's some public record or something that says, oh, look, this is what's happening, and you're just reporting on, hey, the public record says this, right? That's fine. You're allowed to do that because you're saying the public record, right? The public record is saying this. In the court document, this is what's alleged. So if somebody's reporting on the story, like on this particular story, and they say, like, for example, I'm talking about it, and I'm saying this is what they're alleging, right? I'm talking about it as if they're alleging this, right? And I'm giving an accurate and complete report of what the allegations are and stuff like that. You're just repeating what the public record says. The public record says this person committed this crime. Well, then you're fine, right? You're shielded from liability on that because you're doing an accurate and complete fair reporting or abridgment, right? Suzanne says yes. I'm shocked on that you would agree on that, right? She says Suzanne says she trampled that at Pathos, got into trouble for doing that to Todd. Yep, yeah. You cannot use things you do not verify. Absolutely, man. Yeah, that's just, again, common sense, but there's a reason why she's also knows without a freaking clue from some people, right? I remember she did not know the difference between libel and slander. She got all confused. And I'm sorry, but if you are a journalist and you do not know the difference between libel defamation and slander defamation, there's a problem. You did not go to educate yourself on that. You didn't go to journalistic school because they're going to tell you exactly the differences. Defendants contend that the privilege applies here because Ms. Paulson's defamatory publications are, quote, drawn from almost wholly a police report and a televised interview Lindsie Chrisley sat for with Dr. Phil. But that factual premise is simply incorrect. So they're alleging that she's just repeating stuff that she got from a police report and that was on Dr. Phil. Now, the police report would be to public record, as is Dr. Phil. Those are public records. But they're saying, no, that premise is completely incorrect. None of the statements at issue summarizes or bridges any police report. I don't have that police report, but only a few even refer to Lindsie Chrisley's interview with Dr. Phil, and many rely on or summarize other non-privileged sources, such as various social media posts by Lindsie Chrisley. Moreover, defendants' defamatory claims that Mr. Chrisley attempted to extort Ms. Paulson herself are completely unconnected to the cited police report and interview. Yeah. From what I understand, nowhere in that interview did Lindsie Chrisley said, hey, my dad is extorting me. My dad is telling me not to testify in this. Nowhere. I didn't watch the interview, and I don't plan on it. I'm sorry. I didn't do my due diligence on that. I'm fully aware of that. But whatever. I can only do so much, guys. But from what I understand, that wasn't in there. Defendants make no effort to explain how the fair reporting privilege attaches to any particular statement at issue. They simply invoke this affirmative defense and leave it to Mr. Chrisley and the court to be puzzled how it might apply. Ooh, again, blatantly stealing from Evelyn Baker. There's a little shade there. I gotta fix. Before my next stream, I gotta fix this mic. It's driving me crazy. That seems to be a little shade there. Like, oh, the court's puzzled. How does this even apply here? Because they don't say. Even if Ms. Paulson's reporting did summarize or abridge a police report made by Lindsie Chrisley, the fair reporting privilege would not apply, as the reinstatement explains. Quote: an arrest by an officer is an official action, and a report of that fact or of the arrest or of the charge of crime made by the officer in making or returning the arrest is therefore within a conditional privilege covered by this section. Restatement of torts, blah, blah, blah. In stark contrast, statements made by, quote, by the complainant or other witness outside of public proceedings or official statements such as Lindsay's complaint are not privileged under this section. We conclude that the unofficial statements made by police sources are outside the scope of fair reporting privilege. So, as I read this, anything that's unofficial by the police is not considered public record. It's not considered to be something that could be retransmitted or re-reported, or they call it the republication rule up here, right? The republication rule. If it's outside the official statements, it's not covered. Only reports of the official statements or records made or released by a public agency are protected by that privilege. Okay, Dr. Phil, not covered. Okay, and the police report, again, I don't know the details of the police report, so I'm not going to comment on that. I don't know. But as far as Dr. Phil, that definitely is not covered. That's not formal. Distinguished statements protected by the fair report privilege from those made in, quote, informal interviews or private conversations with arresting officers or investigators. In other words, if this cop's talking, yeah, it's not formal. This is because, quote, such reports to police are unverified hearsay rather than official statements made by state officials. I'm going to skip all this. Ms. Paulson's reporting regarding Mr. Chrisley's interview on Dr. Phil likewise fails to trigger the fair reporting privilege. So they're saying, look, she's not covered under this. This is not relevant. She can say she got it from Dr. Phil, so what? But that's not what was said on Dr. Phil. She, as they said, they embellished, embroidered it, you know. Defendants acknowledge as much, admitting with considerable understatement, shade. Shade. I gotta think of a better word. I don't want to rip off Emily D. Baker, you know, because I mean she calls it shade. What's another good word? I want to be, you know, more myself, but that's to me is shade. You know, defendants acknowledge as much, admitting with considerable understatement that there might be some disagreement to the application of this privilege to the Dr. Phil interview. In other words, they're saying, yeah, even the defendants say, yeah, there might be some issue here. We understand that. We admit that this may not apply to Dr. Phil's interview, with considerable understatement. Wow. The fair reporting privilege applies solely to reports of governmental proceedings and public records, which there wasn't. Minnesota's courts have taken an incremental approach in defining the privilege and have applied it only in limited circumstances involving governmental proceedings or statements, which of course this isn't. The undersigned is aware of no authority applying the fair reporting privilege to statements made on a daytime talk show, because there isn't any. That would be, it's just not applicable. Her claiming Dr. Phil, not applicable. You know, and it'd be one thing if they said, hey, look, on the Dr. Phil show today, this person says this, this, and this. That's kind of one thing. But when you say, because Lindsie was on Dr. Phil, and I'm embellishing this to me, this weird, bizarre narrative that Todd Chrisley is extorting his daughter, that's a whole different ballgame. That's not covered under fair reporting. That's not under kind of any shield. That's under any kind of republication rule. No. Defendants cite no authority, nor do they otherwise provide a legal bias for this court to expand the privilege far beyond its recognized bounds. Yeah, so they're basically, as I interpret it, saying defendants give no reason why they would even apply in the Dr. Phil thing. Why do they even include it if they even recognize that it's probably not applicable? I think it's a Hail Mary. I think that, again, they're throwing anything they can against the wall to see what sticks, and it's going to bite them in the ass. You got to wrap this up soon. Finally, if the publications at issue are here are summarized or abridged privileged sources, the privilege is lost if one, quote, makes additions of their own that would convey a defamatory impression, which she did. In other words, she embellished and embroidered and added to the stuff that wasn't there. Imputes, corrupts, motivates to anyone or indicts expressively or by innuendo the veracity or integrity of any of the parties, which of course, you know, she did. If a defendant ventures beyond summarizing or abridging a public record, the entire report that would be subject to evaluation as any other allegedly defamatory statement. In other words, she went beyond just summarizing something. She just went beyond summarizing a public record or even summarizing Dr. Phil. She took it to the next couple levels, which was salacious, because she just made this really bizarre, fictitious claim, supposedly, that, you know, Todd was involved with all this extortion stuff to his daughter, which again, now we see doesn't seem to be the case, although I believed all along it was bullshit. But even Lindsie has said it doesn't happen, which I think is a huge, huge blow to her case. Mr. Paulson's publication included many defamatory additions not found in the cited source. Among other things, Ms. Paulson has claimed, 1, Mr. Chrisley himself attempted to purchase a sex tape of his daughter. Pretty damning, because she has to find evidence for that. Yep. True, Mr. Chrisley threatened his daughter with the release of nude photographs in addition to the sex tape. Again, she has to show that in court. Why would you get a motion to dismiss granted when she's made these allegations? One sec. Miss Paulson has also repeatedly opined that the party's credibility, I believe Lindsie Chrisley, from that other person, from the show supposedly, cited an additional non-privileged source to bolster the false story and speculated it regarded Mr. Chrisley's corrupt motive, e.g. claiming Mr. Chrisley mistreated his daughter because he was, quote, mad because Lindsie Chrisley wouldn't lie to federal prosecutors for him. Yeah, excuse me, coffee. Yeah, so that's gold right there. They're saying, again, as I understand it, that she cited non-privileged sources in order to foster this and bolster this fictitious narrative that Mr. Chrisley was mad at his daughter, saying, hey, look, you better lie to the federal prosecutors or bad things will happen, or things won't work out well, whatever the phraseology was, because they've used all those phrases before. But, you know, that we're going to release a sex tape. And I still think that phrase, Susan, I'm still freaking about that phraseology. So it's so similar to me. You know, obey Steve or bad things will happen or things won't work out well. I don't know. It just seems, it's just sticking in my craw there, dude. I don't know what it is. It just seems so familiar that they're using some similar terminology that, you know, it's so funny because she has a playbook, right? Katie has a playbook. She doesn't even have much variation. And so, I mean, it just seems to be a lot of the stuff is coaxed from her, you know, but again, whatever. Sidetrack there. It's bugging me. But yeah, so she's run this story that's way beyond the whole Dr. Phil thing. She's like saying, hey, look, Mr. Chrisley's mad at his daughter because he wants her to lie for him, and if she doesn't, he's going to release a sex tape. That's defamation. If that is not the case, if she cannot prove that, yes, he's going to get millions. Yeah, I think this. This 50,000, nothing. I think if he wins, it's going to be at the very minimum in the six figures, if not seven. Yep, I do believe that. So. So Mr. Chrisley has adequately pled actual malice. Now, in my case, I don't have to show actual malice. My lawyers think that I have actual malice against her. My lawyers have told me, and in the complaint, that I have sufficient evidence to show that she acted she has acted with a complete disregard to the truth. She had acted with recklessness, and that I can show that she did commit slander and libel against me with malice. Now, I don't have to show that because she's a public, you know, I'm not a public figure. But so not only do I have enough evidence, I according to my attorneys, to show that I have defamation, I have enough evidence to show that it was with malice even. They did put that in there for a reason, because they want to show, hey, look, this was not just done, you know, a lie. This was not just, you know, a defamation. This was done knowingly and willfully, done with malice, that she had actually made stuff up against me. That takes it to a whole new level, right? That takes it to the next level, because I don't have to show malice to make my case. But if I can show malice, I've already, you know, obviously made the case, right? Because maliciousness implies that, you know, she defamed me there. If I can show that she lied about me with malice, it clearly shows she lied about me. So, but as a public figure, you have to show malice. She has to show that malice was there. The other in the inverse, that I have to show. Well, she has to show that I somehow maliciously said things about her, which obviously she can't do. So, public figures to bring a defamation case must show a defamatory statement must be made with actual malice, meaning made with the knowledge that it was false or with reckless disregard of whether it was false or not, which clearly I think is the case here. Defendants argue that at considerable length that Mr. Chrisley has not adequately pled that Ms. Paulson made her statement with actual malice. Well, if she lied about the guy calling her, or woman calling her, she doesn't say the gender, but, you know, whoever called her, that would be with malice. That's recklessness. She lied about that. That's completely with knowledge that she lied about this. They base this argument on a flawed premise that Mr. Chrisley must put forth, quote, evidence proving that alleged defamatory statements are known lies. No, they don't. He doesn't have to do that. Or were made with reckless disregard for police stage. Minnesota has adopted a liberal notice pleading standard under which a Rule 12.02 motion to dismiss for failure to state a claim will be denied if it is possible on any evidence which might be produced consistent with the pleader's theory to grant relief demanded. Accordingly, a pleader need not put forth evidence of an actual malice at the pleading stage. Gathering that evidence is the function of discovery. Now, again, as I read this, I'm not a lawyer, but as I read this, they're saying that Todd at the pleading stage, that the stage that they're at, doesn't have to show malice. He only has to show there's a complaint. They're saying that, no, the malice has to be shown because she's a public figure during the discovery phase. He's showing that there's defamation. There's defamation to be had. Now, during discovery, he's asked through the court for her to provide the information to give to him to who this person was that she talked to from the show. That is to show the malice. That is done through discovery. It's not done at the preliminary stages that they're at. It's not done at the pleading stage where they were at. He doesn't have to show that in the initial complaint that there was malice. He could do that afterwards. So from what I'm reading, his lawyer is telling the court, hey, Katie's lawyer's messed up on this. There's nothing in the rule that says during the part that they're at that they have to show malice. That's done later on, right? That's up to the jury to decide whether there's malice or not. They don't have to show that in any kind of initial things with the court. Hang on. Therefore, a plaintiff need only allege that the defendant knew that defamatory statements at issue were false or made them recklessly to plead that actual malice. Okay, so yeah, I think makes sense to me. What do you guys think? I mean, why would he have to show a malice at this stage? He has to show that later on in the court case, and he wants the discovery to be able to do that. It makes sense to me. So I think Katie's lawyer is wrong on this. I really absolutely think that they're just doing a Hail Mary, right? I really think that this is a Hail Mary attempt because I would like to think that Graham, kind of knows what he's doing, but yeah, I don't think the motion to dismiss is predicated on a sound ground, because why would you have to show malice at the complaint stage, right? Why would you have to do that? It doesn't make any sense. You're just saying, look, I have enough evidence that there's been defamation. I want a court ruling, and during the process, I'll show that there's malice, and I want the discovery to show that. So the plaintiff need only allege that the defendant knew that defamatory statements at issues were false, which he did. He alleges that. He says, look, the statements were false and they were malicious. I plan to prove that in court. Okay, that's what a court does. It adjudicates that kind of stuff, right? Right? You don't have to show malice at the initial complaint. That's what the court determines. I mean, if I'm wrong on this, guys, please tell me, by the way. If you got legal training or anything like that, please let me know. But it's just how I'm reading it, and I don't have any other way to read it. Yeah, I'm just going to skip it. It's the same stuff. Because I'm on a time crunch here. So, actual malice, blah, blah, blah. Disregard of the truth. Here, they even say here. Indeed, requiring that Mr. Chrisley provide conclusive proof to substantiate his claim at the pleading stage would be unconstitutional. They're going full on unconstitutional. In invalidating Minnesota anti-SLAPP law, the Minnesota Supreme Court held that requiring a plaintiff to produce evidence to sustain his allegations in response to a motion, I think it's continued, to dismiss violated the plaintiff's right to a jury trial. There you go. That says it all right there. That they're telling the court, hey, what Katie's lawyer is saying, if you upheld this, is unconstitutional, which means they would probably get it overturned on appellate or on appeal, right? They're giving the way I'm reading it again. They're giving notice. Hey, you cannot just hand wave this motion. You can't just approve it, because if you do so, you are violating the Constitution, because they have determined the Minnesota Supreme Court has determined that the plaintiff's right to produce evidence can be done during trial, and that you cannot dismiss something that should be adjudicated. That violates the plaintiff's right to a jury trial, which is unconstitutional. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. I think they're spot on with that. Like I said, Todd Chrisley's lawyers are just awesome. I mean, awesome. And this is what I'm saying. She has nothing to dismiss this. And I'll make a wager. I'll bet you guys. The ruling is on the 27th of this month, April 27th. What would you guys like to bet? I'll make a bet. And I'm not going to go like crazy, but I'll make a bet that her motion to get dismissed is denied. What would you like to? What would you like to think the bet should be? And I'll bet something $100, right? I'll put $100 on that. One person, I'll put $100 on that. But I mean, I want to be more interesting. So leave me in the comment section what you think a good bet would be, right? I'm not going to streak naked, by the way. Nobody wants to see that. But give me some ideas of what you might think would be a reasonable bet to offer somebody, or if somebody wants to take it. I want to know what you guys think. I would bet that the motion to dismiss will be denied on the 27th. I am extremely confident on that. And by the way, I had more confidence, obviously, with my own court case because I was involved with that. So I already knew how things were going to go. And I told you guys this is how it's going to go. I even said a month before her lawyer, Kyle's lawyer withdrew. I said a month before that she was probably going to have to withdraw, and that she probably would. Again, because I was in the middle of the stuff, so I had inside information. I get that. Here, I have no inside information when it comes to whether this is going to be dismissed or not. How the fuck would I know? Right? I mean, this is up to the judge. But I'm confident by reading this and stuff like that. It's pretty straightforward that there's no reason, legally speaking, that it would be dismissed. So, hi, Aaron. Aaron, help me out there. Give me some ideas. Well, I need a bet. I need a good bet to even offer to anybody that I think this motion is going to be dismissed, right? And let's not go hog wild there. But I mean, what's a good bet for something? I want to bet somebody on this. First, I want to find somebody who disagrees. I want to find somebody who says that it will be dismissed. Because I want to find somebody like that. And I don't mean somebody like Menace, who's an idiot, who just disagrees with me on everything because he's an idiot. Of course, he's going to think that because they're stupid. But I mean somebody who's of a reasonable, intelligent level that wants to bet me on this. Oh, sorry about that. I'm sorry. God dang it. Now, let me go back and sorry about that. Let me. So somebody has said about giving it to charity, and I'm happy to do that. I don't mind giving $100 for charity if somebody else put that up. But I was saying to people that somebody might say, "Well, Steve's giving away $100 that I donated for whatever, and the GoFundMe is legal." But I was trying to explain that I have compartmentalized all my finances. I have my PayPal, I have my savings account, my checking, and all this. I'm very, very good at money management. And Erin has seen my finances, so she knows that when I'm saying that I'm really good at my structure of my finances. And structure is not a bad term, but everything legally that I'm well aware of my money, and which is not a lot. Okay, I'm not by any stretch of imagination, but I'm a little better off than I was last year. I had, when I first started, I had about $400 in the bank. Okay, so yeah, I mean, it sucked, but I mean, I keep like a dollar or two around. But I was saying that to Aaron, I applied for an Amazon credit card because I always get stuff through Amazon, and so they had like a $50 gift card. I was like, okay, I'll apply for the credit card, and I didn't get approved immediately, Aaron. And I gotta admit, I was a little perturbed by that because I have a good credit score, and I come to find out I have something like LifeLock that I didn't know about. It's basically through one of my other cards. If you apply to anything, they have to contact you personally and talk to you in order to have it approved. I didn't know that. I like that, actually. I'm fine. I'm completely fine with that, actually. Right? It's a good security. But I was a little pissed because I was like, yeah, I got that bank. I'm rolling in the dough. No, not by any stretch of imagination. I will say this, though. I at least have enough money for rent and food nowadays because, again, when I started, I had $400 in the bank. So, yeah, I do not have any kind of money. I have enough to survive if I needed to, obviously for the next 6 months to a year. But yeah, I mean, I'm definitely not completely flat broke. I don't live paycheck to paycheck as I was, and so that's good. But I do make sure that my finances are such that I have money that have for entertainment that I set aside. I budget for food. I have coupons, like literally coupons. I take the bus. If here's a bus pass, you know, I mean, where's my coupon? Here, I cut coupons. I mean, I don't know why the hell I'm telling you guys this. Like, you guys give a shit. But I'm a coupon cutter. I'm frugal. Fuck off. People mock me for that. I'm like, yeah, you know what? I'm frugal as shit, but you know what? I went out and got 13 donuts or 12 donuts, whatever the hell it is. I got donuts today and coffee. So that's what I'll spend it on. I'll spend it on food and drink and alcohol, maybe. But yeah, people mock me for being frugal. So what? It means I have some. It means that I'm very reserved with my finances because I wanted to go to stuff that is important, like food, rent, and legal stuff. So. Yeah, I don't understand why people would mock somebody for being frugal. I don't get it. I really don't. Franny for $10. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Franny. Thank you. I appreciate that. Oh, you're sweet. Thank you. I got a super sticker. I haven't had a super sticker in a long time. Thank you, Franny. Yay! I'm glad you enjoyed this stream, Franny. I really do. Game of Mock says managing your financial affairs legally to your best advantage and to attract the least taxes. Oh yeah, and by the way, I just did my taxes, and I got my taxes back. And I file zero dependents when I go to work on my W-9 and 2 and all that kind of stuff. The reason being is I'd rather just get it all back at the end. I don't even claim myself. I claim zero, and so they could take out all the money. Because I was working for quite some time and I'm going back to work. But when I was working before I moved down here, yeah, they took out a lot of money because I claimed zero for dependents, which you're perfectly able to do. You claim anything you want, zero, whatever. But if, at the very end, you're going to end up owing taxes. I don't like to owe taxes. I like getting money back. Okay. Now people say, well, then you're not getting any savings or you're not getting interest. It's not that much to worry about the interest. Okay. It's just a way that I save by saying, look, I don't have access to that money until the end of the year. It's a nice little bonus that I get, a couple $100 or whatever it is at the end of the year. It's a little extra for me, I like that. But Marilyn's the same. I'm very frugal as I watch others splurge and I go on vacation. I'm the only one with a savings account that allows me not to live check to check. Check to check, exactly. I've lived paycheck to paycheck for God knows how many years of my life. People know I had a bankruptcy in 2005 or 4, whatever it was. And I've learned from these experiences. I don't want to ever go back to that. I don't ever want to go back to that. And again, I'm going back to work. And I want to. I've been applying to different places because I moved and I was working before I moved down here. And so I don't want to ever live from paycheck to paycheck. When you're like, shit, I've got to, float a check in order to get groceries. And we've all done that. We've all floated checks. It sucks. And now I haven't obviously done that in 3 decades or something. I don't even know who uses checks any longer. But, and I've got a lot of credit available to me on credit cards. I mean, I could seriously survive just off credit cards. But the problem is you got to pay those credit cards back. And I have a zero balance. So I don't like owing anything on credit cards. But I'm not going to run out of food. But like you pointed out, Lynn, it's good to be frugal and then use that stuff for more important stuff. And by the way, I give super chats. I support people. I've donated things. I bought things for people. I do give back to the community. So I'm fine with that. Suzanne says I lived frugally for years and put kids through college. Now I live like $1 million in Costa Rica. There you go. Yeah. Costa Rica's cheap, man. Yeah. So you did the wise thing there, Suzanne. Yeah. I never want to go back check to check. I'm debt free. And by the way, as I said, Erin has seen my finances. She knows exactly what I'm talking about, and I'm proud of that. I'm proud that I have taken financial responsibility not to be check to check. And that I've, because I don't make that much off YouTube, guys. I'm sorry. I'm not like PewDiePie. People think that YouTubers make so much. They don't. They literally don't make that much money, But I've made enough to at least, have enough to buy donuts or something. But it's not that much. AdSense is very, very low. But I was making decent money through my job. But at least, for what it was worth. Somebody, hey, fancy adopt me. She says. Okay, but anyways, I do got to wrap this up. But again, you get the gist of this, right? I mean, I can't go through the rest of it, unfortunately, because I do got the Non Sequitur show, David Silverman coming in. I got to set that up. But it goes on and on and on. It talks about extortion and defamation. I mean, in fact, I might do a part 2 tonight. Maybe I'll read the rest of it tonight because there's a lot more in here. Plus, I've got this to read, which is the letter that Todd Chrisley's lawyers wrote to the court. So I think I'm going to basically put a pin in this for now. I'll read the rest of it tonight and give a brief summary, or tomorrow. So what do you guys think of that? But I do got to go. Guys, head over to the Non Sequitur show. I got David Silverman coming on. What can go wrong there? It should be fun. But leave me a comment in the video description. That to me is the best feedback I can get is people leaving video comments. Let me know if you agree with my analysis. Let me know if you think that Katie Joy is screwed in the Todd Chrisley case. Let me know if you think she has a defense. Because the only defense I can see her having is if she can produce this person that allegedly contacted her and somehow use it in defense. I think that even if she did talk to somebody, it doesn't really matter. I don't think, again, because it's unverified source and it's just not a public record. There's just so much wrong with what she's saying that it just is, to me, I don't think she has a defense. I think her lawyer's scrambling right now to come up with anything he can. He's also got the Shin case to deal with, and allegedly there's 2 more lawsuits happening within 2 more weeks, which is going to be just overwhelming to Katie Joy. So we'll see. We'll see. But I want to thank you guys for watching this. This was an early morning stream, which I don't usually do. I am still wired from coffee, but I got to make a little more coffee for my next show. But I will see you over the Non Sequitur show in about a half hour with David Silverman. All right. But yeah, please leave me a comment, like, subscribe, share. Comments are everything right now because I really want the feedback. It's not, and people say, well, it's Steve wants, narcissistic supply. No, I really want to know what you guys think. I think my analysis is pretty decent, but if it's off, I want to know why. I really, honest to God, want to know what the fuck am I missing here than how I'm reading this. So with that, guys, I'll see you over the Non Sequitur show. Good night.